Awesome. All right. Hit me,
One's
Hassan.
at peace versus Chad. Do you think I support Palestinians getting raped?
Yeah, stop. Don't be nice to Loner. I'm demanding it,
Oh
please.
man.
All right. Resolved.
All right.
Hassan Piker is meaningfully. Oh wait, or Avi, you define it however you want. Your proposition or your.
Yeah. I think Hassan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic. By that I mean he is not anti-Semitic in the sort of way that we're all a little bit racist.
Okay.
This is not this is not your aunt or whatever who has a problem getting, has a little bit of an aversion getting into the taxi with an Asian driver or whatever. Like it's not at that level. It's at an abnormal level.
Okay.
Like this is not, it's not normal, and it's enough to warrant when someone asks the question, "Do you think Hassan Piker is anti-Semitic?" It's enough to warrant yes. You can qualify it. You can say, okay, not at the level of Hitler, but not at the level, maybe not even at the level of Nick Fuentes, but he is. This is the answer is yes, meaningfully anti-Semitic, like anti-Semitic in his actions, in his speech, in his double standards, in his we'll do all the D's, in his delegitimization, in his demonization, and his double standards, and it is not normal. Like this is not a small little degree here. This is a meaningful degree. I want to show meaningfully that. Incidentally, because a lot of the defenses here for Hasan Piker is that he also did this for this other group. By the way, I think Hasan Piker is meaningfully prejudiced against white people, even though he recently, in the past as well, he said he considers himself white. But I actually think Hasan Piker is also prejudiced against whites. And he is actually, to an arguably, he said it's some even more
Greater
wild
extent.
things about white people.
Yeah.
Yeah, even arguably to a greater extent, he said some more wild things about white people. So just like someone, again, consistent standards here. Just like if someone were to say, well, I just say this about Somalians. There's this slur I've used it for Somalians, but I'm only talking about some sort of their ideology. And here's proof. I've also said this slur against Arabs. It's like you would laugh. Like that wouldn't do anything for you, and it shouldn't, because that's an important defense to keep in mind, because I'm going to be bringing evidence, and a lot of the defenses. So when I bring evidence, just so the audience is aware, I'm aware there are responses to the evidence I'm going to bring. I'm going to address them. I will. So before you start jumping, oh no, that's not, he didn't say that because they're Jews. He said that as like a broader insult to like all sorts of groups of people. Like, I'm aware of that. I'm aware that people say that. And I'm going to show why that's ridiculous.
Okay. Can I ask you on your position, your conclusion, baseline conclusion? Do you have a view about whether he has a conscious hatred of Jews, or would you characterize it as hatred based on what you've seen?
I would characterize it as a hatred of sorts. I don't have a view on whether it's like a conscious sort of hatred, like Jews. It could be subconscious. Like it could be a subconscious sort of hatred. But the way, from what I've seen of him, it is not normal for people to talk the way he has talked about Jewish people without some sort of hatred. At minimum prejudice, probably hatred.
Okay.
Now, is that conscious? Is he aware of this? Like, is he aware of, like, no, sometimes you're not aware of your feelings. Like, sometimes you don't have a full grasp on articulating them. Sometimes it doesn't bring it. Fine. I don't really have a view on that part of it. But yeah, like and again, consistent standards. I think that when I'm going to show you, if you were to see a right winger doing this, talking about the same way with Somalians and Arabs, saying it in the same way, with the same vitriol, you would think the same, and you wouldn't buy the excuses. You wouldn't buy it like, oh, well, I'm just talking about an ideology. It's just their ideology doing it. And when you do a full analysis on where they use it and where they don't, that doesn't work. It doesn't meet the muster, and you wouldn't believe that in any other context.
Okay, so my position is, I'm not convinced. Convince me.
Yep. Cool. So let's go through. Oh, okay. Go for it.
I won't make it like a 2v1. I'll
You can.
All
right. Well,
you can. I don't mind.
Okay. I mean, it's quite a friendly 2v1 to be fair. I think Hasan is anti-Semitic by his own standards. That double genocide theory thing is Hasan repeats that ad nauseum. He habitually says that if you compare Stalin to Hitler or the Holodomor to the Holocaust, you are Holocaust denial, anti-Semitic. He believes that, yet he's happy to do that problematic comparison between Israel and the Holocaust and the Nazis. Doesn't make any sense. To the point that he said that anyone who even shows any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated as a rabid neo-Nazi. By his own internal logic, he's an anti-Semite. And also by the logic of a normal person for many reasons, but yeah.
I hear you, but I care about my notion of anti-Semitism. So,
but given if I could prove what I just said, would that by his own logic definitely?
If you could prove that by his own logic, then that would show, I think, that he's a hypocrite. It wouldn't show on my lights that he's anti-Semite, because what I care about is
the evidence.
But yeah, I think that probably would be evidence on my credence, but I don't think by itself would. And just to be clear, I care about, and I think we all agree, and we have the same notion, or roughly the same notion of the definitions of these terms. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So one more thing before we do it, because I know you wanted me to talk about like self-serving statements and stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Even though we touched. Yeah. So I'm also aware that Hasan Piker has made all sorts of. Yeah. Hasan Piker has friendships with Jewish people. Hasan Piker has made self-serving statements. Hasan Piker has got up and been like, "Oh, I'm the real champion against anti-Semitism." And it's all sorts of like, sort of slop like that. The reason none of that is helpful is because, again, just like all sorts of evidence for Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism is deflated by the countervailing hypothesis of anti-Zionism, there's a countervailing hypothesis that very easily explains all of the exonerating evidence, which is self-serving behavior. What would be helpful, so that's all that stuff is not helpful. What would be helpful, and I'll give you an example, when it's not self-serving. As an example, if Hasan Piker right now were to stand up and be like, I condemn Anna Kasparian for her anti-Semitism. Like someone who he's close with, someone who it would hurt him a bit. It would be tough for him to do that. Someone he has a good, close relationship with and is aligned politically with. If he were to condemn her anti-Semitism, that would be evidence. That would be helpful countervailing evidence for me. I would be like, maybe I should maybe that decreases my credence. Okay, that's the sort of evidence that would be helpful.
Not Fuentes, and not like Trump, but not like these kind of characters.
No, because that's self-serving again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's all self-serving. That's like very easily.
And Chad, does that make sense? I'm looking at you now. I hope that makes sense, because that's my intuition as well. That like, and I wanted to raise it because, of course, you're always going to find self-serving statements from Trump, and we got to be consistent in terms of how we apply that as evidence. And I am not swayed by Trump's self-serving statements that he loves all Mexicans, he loves Muslims, love him, all that stuff. And so I hope that makes sense, folks. I agree with that.
Okay. So I'm going to.
All right, we'll watch the stream too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to know, like, can you hear it, and is it playing and everything?
Let me know when it starts playing.
Okay. All right, starts playing now.
Whether they should continue to be allowed to be exempt from the military, but there has been a failure for that to happen.
Bro, literally both options are hilarious. The ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, again, very funny. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm totally on board with this. I think it's hilarious. Let them serve. Let them fight, dude. If they want the smoke, if they don't want to be conscientious objectors, which some are, and that's valid, and I'm with them all the way. Okay. But get
to Orthodox.
Okay. So a couple things. Let's so that was the clip. Let's understand the context of the clip.
Okay.
And if you ever need the full VOD, we're happy to go through the full VOD as well. So let's go step by step here. What's the group? The group is mentioned. It's not Orthodox, it's ultra-Orthodox.
Okay.
The context. Do you know? And do you know about this group, ultra orthodox?
This group is that they are exempt from military service in under Israeli law. They are less secular than many Israelis, and that there's a big sort of like discourse about and vying for their political power, oftentimes in coalition governments, and that they exist as a kind of a sect that is focused a lot on especially male rabbinical training. That's my understanding. It's pretty general.
Okay, so there's more. So that's true. Let's focus. Do you know anything about the ultra orthodox as it relates to potential countervailing hypotheses? Like, is this explained by Zionism? Is this explained by? Go ahead.
So that there's a more emphasis for Orthodox Jews and ultra Orthodox Jews to like marry within the sect or marry within or have definitely no like
I'm asking like so that's they're insular, but that's not what I'm getting at. So I'm asking the point being here is that the ultra Orthodox group, this is the group that is broadly non-Zionist. The clear majority of ultra Orthodox group, this is a non-Zionist group. The clear majority of the ultra Orthodox, the Haredim, identify as either non-Zionist or in a smaller minority of cases, anti-Zionist.
Mm-hmm.
They're broadly not a Zionist group. The context here is they are trying to resist conscription into the IDF.
Oh, so it's the direct opposite kind of rationale that you would expect if someone who is anti-Zionist.
You would expect Hasan to celebrate this.
Yeah.
You would expect Hasan to celebrate a group of non-Zionist Jews resisting Israel, resisting conscription into the IDF. You would expect him to simp for them.
Yep.
You would not expect him to call them inbred.
100%.
And next point is Hasan. Next point is this. Listen carefully.
Yep.
Let him serve. Let him fight, dude. If they want the smoke, if they don't want to be conscious.
Notice how if they want the smoke is indexed to let them serve.
They
and
don't want the smoke. Yeah.
But also, they don't want. But also, listen to this.
Conscientious objectors, which some are, and that's valid, and I'm with them all the way.
He knows this is the group where you would expect conscientious objectors to come from.
But he still wants them to serve.
He knows, and yet he still wants them to. And he still called them inbred. He can caveat with they want them to serve plausibly with saying, oh well, if they want the smoke, but like that wasn't indexed to whether they're inbred. He's still calling them inbred.
Yeah.
So let's see what we have here, just to be clear on everything. This is a predominantly non-Zionist group.
They're fighting against
They're fighting against Israel. They're fighting against the IDF conscription. They're trying not to serve. They're trying not to go into Lebanon. They're trying not to fight Arabs. And also, not a settler group either, by the way. They're not settlers. By and large, only 14% of ultra-Orthodox Jews are settlers. And by the way, in the small minority when they are, do you know why they're settlers? It's not like the Dati Lumi. They're not ideological settlers.
Is it like economic?
Because they can't afford. Yeah, they can't afford to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so not a settler group, not a Zionist group, fighting IDF conscription, and by the way, not an ethnic supremacist group either. Because notice he's not talking about the chief rabbi specifically. You could say, well, the chief rabbi specifically, he wasn't aware of this. He was made aware later in the stream. The chief rabbi specifically, said something bad about black people. He's not talking about the chief rabbi, and he wasn't even aware of it when he said this. He's talking about the ultra-Orthodox group. And unless you want to take a Groyper argument, which the Groyper argument for why ultra-Orthodox, it's like, oh, because chosen people equals supremacist group. It's like, no, that's not how they interpret that. But
we have some chat objections, and I want your reaction to them. Is that okay?
Yeah.
He just said he supports the conscientious objectors. Your response?
Yeah. Then why are you calling the group inbred? The contention is not whether he supports conscientious objectors. I wasn't bringing that.
Correct.
Do you think that I was bringing the conscientious objectors to contend to act as if he didn't support conscientious? Yeah, he supports it. But the point is that it's evidence that he's at least somewhat aware that this group is the sort of group where conscientious objectors will come from. Why are you referring to why are you calling it inbred? Why? And he didn't condition. Wait 1 second. He did not condition the inbred status on whether they would be conscientious objectors or not, or whether they wanted to smoke.
It is worth mentioning. It is worth mentioning that the ultra orthodox, as far as I know, are not so much conscientious objectors. They're just objectors, right? Because they believe like the IDF defends us with weapons. We defend Israel with Torah. Like so I was told.
That's true. Yeah. So that's not exact yes and no. So there's both of that. The subset of the ultra orthodox objectors will fall into two categories. There'll be conscientious objectors, like the anti-Zionist faction of ultra orthodox. Those actually are conscientious objectors. Like Neturei Karta, that is conscientious objectors. But the other form of objectors, there's a more like I'm just doing my own thing objector. I'm just doing the Torah thing objector. And by the way, even when they say that, it's not saying like, oh, that's a pragmatic like defense. When they say things like, oh, the Torah is what's keeping, Israel safe, really, by divine thing. That's a pragmatic thing they talk about. Like they don't actually, like their whole philosophy isn't actually about let's learn Torah to keep Israel safe. That's just something they say to the state to try and resist conscription. That's like a pragmatic thing that they do. So there's both forms of objectors. There's conscientious objectors, and then there's like pragmatic objectors. There's objectors because I want to learn and not serve. Yeah. But either way, what you're talking about, the point is Hasan is at least aware that this sort of thing is the sort of group where you would expect this to come from. And so, he agrees with that. But why the hell are you calling them inbred then?
So, response from some, and
also since we're doing sorry, 1 second. Since we're doing chat comments, Mindwave saying because they often
I was about to go there.
Marry their cousins.
Okay,
but then let's see how Hasan reacts.
No. That's not true either. Wait, that is not true either. And by the way, the rates of consanguineous marriages among that group is actually. That's actually lower than many Arab groups, and Hasan has never called the Arab groups.
And would call it out as anti-Muslim.
Lower than Kuwait, Qatar, Iraq.
Yes, that's not going to work. Pisco, what was the objection you wanted to raise?
No. I was going to raise the Mindwaves comment too there because I saw it and that was lined up.
Yeah. So that and also by the way, furthermore, so number ways that fails. Number one, he's not academically talking about
rates of
the rates of consanguineous marriages, nor is he academically talking about founder effects that happened thousands of years ago and why Jewish people have higher rates of Tay-Sachs. No, let's for the people who are actually lost here, listen to how he says it.
Fucking hilarious. Okay? And then they get their fucking untrained inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon. They're fucking untrained inbred asses shipped.
And then they're untrained inbred asses. This is not an academic comment about founder effects. This is not an academic comment about consanguineous marriages. This is a slur, okay? And just to explain it, because the chat is like being crazy, all of it, like the chat is wild.
I agree.
Just to explain it, because some people may not know why calling a group of people inbred is a slur. There is the heavy connotation that there is something wrong with you in virtue of your ancestry. Okay? And you would never expect this, you would never hold this standard, you would never be reaching for this in any other context.
If Trump said this.
If Trump called Somalians inbred and he said, well, no, I'm just talking about their ideology, about their rates of fraud. And as proof, I called Arab people inbred too. Ha.
Yeah,
you would never expect
this significantly raises credence. I think this is there's not a good response there that I've seen so far from the chat.
And furthermore, okay, so that's and now let's talk about degree. We're gonna talk about his response.
Wait, sorry, pause. We have something here. Hasan uses the same term for white Republicans.
Yes, now Pisco, notice. Did I not predict that response?
Yes, you did. Yes.
Did I and did I not already prophylactically head that off? And I'm gonna provide evidence. Yeah, you're right. He does. He does say that for white Republicans. Do you know what he also says for white Republicans? Do you know what he also says for whites?
So what's an unsmart?
Let's play it.
A mayonnaise monkey, I guess. A term used by black people in the U.S. as a way to describe white people based on their, quote, mayonnaise-like skin.
Bro, cum skin is way better of a deeper cut, in my opinion. Cum skin. I think Mayo Monkey is like, it's low level, honestly. Like, Sun Dodger is funny. Cum skin gets right to the point. It's just like, it's indefensible. You got owned. You know what I mean?
So, you're right. Hasan does use slurs against white people also. What the hell is your point? Again, like if someone were to, he's racist against white people. Like, again, degree, like this is not, I don't know, Pisco, does that raise your credence? Someone's saying, oh, mayonnaise monkey doesn't go that far. Actually, let's go with cum skin.
Yeah, no, it doesn't raise my credence really, and although deal with the kind of like, well, people use inbred all the time. It's just like now it's a generalized term to just be a disparaging thing. Deal with that. Okay, he uses inbred.
Wait.
Can you hear me or no?
Hold on. Yeah, I can. Wait, no, I asked, just to be clear on my credence. What I asked you, I asked if your credence is raised by Hasan Piker in terms of him being prejudicial toward white people. If by him saying cum skin, saying that mayonnaise monkey's not too far.
Yeah, no. You mean the credence with respect to him being racist against white people, or not being racist against Jews?
No. I'm not talking about Jews. I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about well, let's do both. Like, does the fact that he also used slurs against the inbred against white people, does that now deflate your credence while he's also calling them cum skinned?
No.
Good. Exactly. And does calling white people cum skin raise your credence that they have anti-white prejudice?
Raise the credence, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Good. Yeah. So that doesn't work. And by the way, here's the other point. Because they've compiled here's an important question. If this whole thing about, in fact, let's actually play Hasan's response. Okay? Let's go. He responded to this. And by the way, I want you to pay attention to how Mehdi Hasan pushes him or doesn't.
Is he wearing the suit there with Mehdi?
Yeah, he's wearing the suit.
Have phrased things better. I apologize for those who I've offended, and I most importantly apologize for giving an opportunity to the right to just like use this against.
This is a 7-year-old clip that you've already explained.
This is the 9/11 thing. Let's go to the
using pejoratives when describing.
Let's go to the
bad to talk about.
Yeah,
Jewish people calling Orthodox Jewish people inbreds.
Yeah,
the one you and I texted back and forth many times. Because I was like, why would you say this?
I have a policy.
When Mehdi Hasan is shook about the anti-Semitism, you know it's bad.
Of using pejoratives when describing any kind of like ethno-racial supremacist groups.
So you call a lot of people inbreds.
I have an entire compilation of it out there somewhere.
But do you regret doing this?
We're gonna go through that compilation.
It's because you gave a weapon to people to say.
Well, that
clearly sounds anti-Semitic.
No, I know, but that one is like super disingenuous because like there's another one that they were like pig dog, where they're like pig dog is anti-Semitic. It wasn't.
Notice the deflection. He's not addressing it right now.
Even in the anti-Semitism glossary until they decided it was actually anti-Semitic. Did you know that?
I did not know.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't even know that that's supposed to be an anti-Semitic term. It's not.
So you're just a guy who likes to call people out with incendiary rhetoric, and occasionally it happens to be people who are.
It just happened to be. He just likes to be called out for the thing.
And therefore you're not targeting them because they're Jewish.
No, of course not. And everyone can see that, especially considering that.
You say everyone can see that. Just serious point. Everyone can't see that.
No one here can say it.
We live in a clip world, right?
Everyone.
So good faith people who might like your politics and like what you do, and then they go, "Oh man, but he said this is a clip. You're saying Orthodox Jewish people are inbred. That's anti-Semitic."
Well, I didn't say Orthodox Jews are inbred. I'm
correct. He didn't say Orthodox Jews are inbred. He said ultra-Orthodox Jews. The group was ultra-Orthodox. Okay, but that makes it worse because that's the non-Zionist group of Jews.
Right. I'm talking specifically about settlers. I'm talking specifically.
No, not a settler group. That is false.
Specifically about like people that are joining the Israeli military.
Again, no. You're talking about people who are not joining by doing everything they can to fight joining the Israeli military. And by the way, to date, they haven't. 98%, even though they lost the court case, 98% of that group successfully resisted joining the Israeli military. You are not merely talking about people who are joining the Israeli military. You are not talking about a settler group.
To go invade Lebanon.
No, people who are not going to invade Lebanon.
It's not about
you wouldn't use that language now. Let me ask you that question.
I still definitely utilize the term inbred quite frequently when talking about religious and ethno-supremacist groups.
Not an ethno-supremacist group.
But with the exception of anything that touches Israel, because I don't want people to just like keep weaponizing that against me.
So notice the type of walkback.
Yeah.
Notice the type of walkback.
It's self-focused. It's
tactical.
not. Yeah. It's not about. Yeah.
Really
weaponizing, and it's not just.
But it is a double standard, 100%.
100%. We know.
Because I've called,
and he's the victim now. He's the victim of double standards.
Agree with on double
I've
standards.
called Republicans inbred hicks my whole life. I call.
Yes, you've called white people. To be clear, white people. You've also slurred white people.
Nazis inbred. I call them pigs. All these different things. I've gotten banned for this. I said Zionist pigs. I got banned.
Look at how virtuous you are.
For that. Why did I get banned for that? Because the ADL went to
and it's the Jews' fault again. It's the ADL's fault.
Twitch went to Amazon and made Zionism a protected identity on the platform, specifically to get me banned.
So the deflection to pig dog to me is totally unavailing, total dodge. I don't think that the factual errors there compound on each other, and that was a horrible explanation. I grant that.
And I actually think it was a lie, but okay, but yes. But notice one more slight thing. For anyone who's been glazing, and for anyone who's watching me, please note, for any of you who have been glazing Mehdi Hasan about, oh, he's such a strong interviewer. He gives the really tough, maybe sometimes he does. What do you think about the kind of pushback he's given Hasan Piker here?
Yeah, not very, I don't think I think it's trying to accommodate and trying to give him an opportunity to improve his own image.
Sweeping?
Yeah.
Like sweeping?
I think that's
this was a sweeping interview, Pisco.
Yeah.
This was a sweep.
So I grant that. I agree with that. I haven't disagreed with anything you said.
Okay. Now let's
Mehdi was sweeping for anti-Semitism.
Yes. He's sweeping for Hasan Piker. He's sweeping for Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that's
he's sweeping for Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, now let's now put. Now this is one example. Let's put other things to the test.
Yeah.
So, look what he said. Listen to what he said. Well, it's the ideology. It's just supremacist ideology, right? We already have an example that doesn't work because there's no evidence that that's a supremacist group. But are Jewish and white people the only group, the only races that he's covered that have supremacist ideology? What would your intuition be on that?
My intuition is no. There's many different groups involved in world affairs that have supremacist ideologies. And,
and many of them,
maybe in the Asian sphere, perhaps.
Yes. And many of them has been on stream. For example, he's done a stream about that involved Hindu supremacists who believe in the caste system. He's done streams about black supremacist groups, both modern and NOI. Question. And has he ever called them inbred? And he's also spoken about Arab Zionists. He believes Zionists is a supremacist ideology. Has he ever called Arab Zionists inbred? Has he ever called a black supremacist inbred? Has he ever called a Hindu supremacist inbred? Ever?
Yeah, I'm already convinced, Avi. I mean, I'm convinced.
No, I'm still gonna lay it on. No, I'm still gonna lay it on.
No, you can. I'm just saying, like, I hope that you don't think that I'm getting the wrong impression. That I need all this.
I need. It's not just for you. It's for the crazies in certain chats as well. But yeah, has he ever done any of that? No. And so we could now maybe let's get really crazy. Maybe let's say, well, we'll plausibly say not necessarily. We'll draw out auxiliary hypotheses. We'll say, well, with the black supremacists, perhaps Hasan didn't just, maybe Hasan just didn't take them seriously enough to think strong language was warranted. But if they started getting more political power, he surely would have called the black supremacists inbred, right? And with the Hindu supremacists, perhaps Hasan didn't feel well read enough on the topic. But if he read more, then surely he would have called the Hindu supremacists who believe in the caste system inbred, right? And with Arab Zionists, well, maybe perhaps Hasan carves out an exception for situations where ethnic supremacist ideology doesn't match the believer's own ethnicity. And with the non-supremacist, non-Zionist Jews that he called inbred also, well, maybe perhaps Hasan was just like super tired that day and misfired and didn't want to acknowledge the error to correct it. And so that's irresponsible, but not really anti-Semitic. Now, you can do all of this. That is mental gymnastics. That is stacking a bunch of auxiliary hypotheses on one another. And even if they're somewhat interrelated, even if they're not completely independent, that's going to tank the theory. Okay, so that's not this explanation that he is just saying the inbred for supremacist groups, supremacist ethno-nationalists or supremacist group or people with supremacist ideology. That does not pass one bit of muster, and no one would believe this. No one would accept this if it was a right winger doing this.
No, they would not.
Yeah, no one. And okay, cool, good. Now, okay, now that we've agreed on all that, let's analyze the degree.
Yeah.
Is this normal? Is this the sort of thing that is a little bit racist? It's just a little bit racist. It's just, it's just like this is just like, someone made a Jewish joke once, it's like whatever. No. This is not fucking normal. Okay, it is normal people we're all just a little bit racist do not end up on a public stream to a live audience talking about the non-Zionist resisting Israel Jews talking about their untrained inbred asses with vitriol. That is not a normal thing. You do not normally get there. Sorry.
It's not a joke.
This
either.
is not a normal.
It's not said in any way.
It's not a joke.
Yeah. No.
No. This was with vitriol. This was, and the answer to your question, by the way, just to answer the question you asked me earlier, I'm going to play it again.
Into southern Lebanon, their fucking untrained inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon.
The way he says that strikes me as hateful. There's hate. There's vitriol there. There's hate there. I don't know if he's consciously thinking Jew, hate Jew, but there's hate here. Like this strikes me as something hateful. But minimally, yes, this is not
definitely
not
prejudice.
This is not
minimally,
a little
yeah.
bit anti-Semitic. Yeah, and not normally. This is not a normal little bit of prejudice.
100%. I agree. Yeah.
Prejudice against Jews, not normally. This is not a normal. This non-trivial, not a normal degree of prejudice against Jews.
I agree.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go on.
Keep going.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, this compilation, just as a point, I actually am gonna play this because this was a Hasan. This was a Hasan simp trying to preemptively defend Hasan by pointing out all of the white examples of Hasan calling white people inbred because of their supremacist group.
And so what we're going to see here is a bunch of uses of inbred as to white people?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because they think this is exonerating. They think it's exonerating. And I'll just play some of this.
You think Joe Manchin would get this level of clout and prominence if he was just another inbred hick fucking Republican senator from West Virginia? Of course not.
I feel like this inbred Nazi didn't just have some le fiery rhetoric against immigration. And that's precisely why we brought in some of the worst inbred fucking tech CEOs you've ever goddamn seen, like Palmer Luckey, Schizo Monkey, or simply the fact that you describe people at all.
Yeah.
Okay, why is it white in that example?
No, it's not. None of these examples are inherently. So none of these examples are I'm not saying that all of these examples are going to inherently mean that it's anti-white racism.
Okay.
What is the example? So that's why I provided external evidence as background knowledge that he is racist against white people, which was the cum skin, which is like mayonnaise monkey doesn't go too far for white people. Cum skin is better. So I'm providing background knowledge, and then I'm saying all of these examples are. Now, here's what would challenge my hypothesis. What would challenge my hypothesis is when I go through these examples, because the whole point of their response to this is saying, no, he just uses the word inbred broadly for anyone who has this thing. And so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to be like, and so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, let's put that to the test. Is it broad? Are there black supremacists am I going to find black supremacists in this clip compilation that he's covered and he's called inbred? Am I going to find,
or is it only white people?
Is it only white people
okay.
and Jewish people, but not Jewish people in this case, because whoever did this edited all the Jewish examples out.
Got it.
At odds with you as an inbred fucking right winger? Well, considering your name is Schizo Monkey, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you might be a fucking inbred right winger. You got a toothless
He's not talking about the individual
on the picture.
Screen,
inbred, racist, white supremacist piece of shit.
And then it's like, okay, then what's the point of this other than just like purely hating them for being immigrants and for being black?
That's it.
There is none.
Yeah. Yeah, and those motherfuckers speak like 4 languages too. That's the other part where they're like, oh, these are some dumb, uneducated, lazy cat eaters. And it's like, dude, you are literally inbred. You are so inbred. You look like the human version of one of those little fucking teacup poodles that we saw earlier. And you're over here talking about fucking how lesser than these people are.
Can you pause real quick?
They're speaking fucking 4 goddamn.
Can you preempt this whole power plus privilege, white racism doesn't count thing?
Oh boy. And yeah, I think that results in like a whole bunch of, we can segue off into that if you want. I think that results in a bunch of hilarious entanglements. I think first of all, minimally, by how you define racism, Pisco, I think your notion is going to be at odds with that.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. I don't buy that. Yeah. I want you to address it.
So like in terms of me convincing you, it's not going to factor in.
Yeah. For sure.
Like that's just not your notion. Now, and my notion, that's not the thing that is absolutely not the sort of thing that's going to result in a whole bunch of entailments, and it doesn't track what I mean. Yes, of course, people who are downtrodden and have less power can be hateful toward white people, and they can treat them differently on the basis of their race. Like there's
no inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency with that.
Yeah.
And if you have this view that the only way you can be racist is for you to have power, well, then you're just talking about something else. You're talking about a different notion than I'm talking about when I talk about racist. And you would say a whole bunch of crazy shit. You would say someone who has less power, who just stabs the powerful white people,
on the basis
that they're white, that they're not racist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here's another comment. You can address it. In what sense is Avi claiming Haredis are major non-Zionists? I feel there could be some conflation of terms happening. You want to clear that up?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Data. Okay. Thank you. So let's go.
Data.
Boom.
Wait, was that your sound of?
Here we go. Do you guys see the chat?
Just before we get to the data, we are clarifying that like the point here is that Hasan's anti-white racism does not like preclude
absolve
anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
both. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And also to add further clarify, on Tuesdays and Thursdays that would make Hasan a self-hate, right?
Oh yeah, the self-hatred part. But I think that all of our notions of racism.
The joke is that he sometimes calls himself white, and he's not. Yeah.
So here's data provided from Pew. Could you read it out, Avi?
Data. Most Haredim do not see themselves as Zionists. Percentage of Israeli Jews who say the term Zionist describes them. In fact, this is the only broad category that the clear majority say when they ask, does the term Zionist describe you? They say not to or not at all accurately. And when you look at people who say very accurately the term Zionist describes you, or somewhat accurately the term Zionist describes you, that is a clear minority of Haredim. Yeah.
It's essentially a super majority of Haredi.
The supermajority do not see themselves as Zionists. Now, there's different views of what type of not Zionist you are. The majority of the non-Zionists are just non-Zionists. The majority of these people say non-Zionist. And there's been a long tradition of them saying non-Zionist. They say they will pragmatically exist in the state of Israel, but they don't actually like ideologically support the state of Israel. It's like, what else are we going to do? We live here. We have to like participate in society. Yet you participate in society, meme. So it's that sort of thing. And then there's a smaller group of Haredim that are actively anti-Zionist. that they are also going to be, and then you're going to get into like conscientious objectors. They
and those
actually
will fit
protest
into the 60
Palestinian
whatever percentage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay,
Yes.
got it,
Yes. Yeah. And then you have the 4%. And by the way, this 4% also, they if you don't know if you're Zionist, you also do not see yourself as Zionist.
Right. So
just very true.
It's really only the 33% which would count towards the Zionist belief.
Yes. So just because like and there was nothing about that clip where there was any qualification. It's like, oh, I'm only talking about the minority of Haredim, or nothing about that. Like he just called the group, the ultra-Orthodox, they're untrained inbred asses.
Okay,
right.
a couple responses.
Yep.
One, 2015 data. Number two, they may not self-identify. A majority.
2015. Okay, let's go one by one. 2015 data, and like I've looked I've seen other reports. But this is the best sort of data. It's been a long-standing tradition. There's no indication that those numbers are any sort different. In fact, there's actually newer papers I've seen that have said even post October 7th, and we can get into that, even post October 7th. I may not have this on hand here, but in my research, I've found that even post October 7th, the Haredi views, the paper said it increased their solidarity post October 7th, but it didn't but there was no indication it increased their increased their rate of being Zionist. Now, the reason I didn't include that is because they didn't fully enumerate and actually do the data like Pew Research did. There hasn't been an update on this. But that notion of Haredim has not changed. Like there's been no broad change.
You would have to sort of say that
you would have to present countering data to this.
Yeah. To suggest that like something has meaningfully changed in this belief. And then
yes. And there's also scholarly work that has indicated that it has not. The meaningful change post October 7th with Haredim, the meaningful change was solidarity with other Jews. They specifically, there's papers that specifically say there's no indication that their ideological stance as Zionism has meaningfully changed.
What the fuck does this matter? I mean, we're here discussing anti-Semitism. If you don't want to talk about it, then you can just leave and not watch. But I've cared enough about this topic to talk about it for like a week, and so really get the fuck out if you don't care about the conversation or if you don't care about this, seriously. And then on the Hasan knowledge front, okay, he doesn't know about this. He just thought because more conservative, more in favor of Zionism.
Again, there's evidence he's aware.
Right, because he said right there.
They want the smoke. If they don't want to be conscientious objectors, which some are, and you know that's valid, and I'm with them all the way.
But you called the group inbred.
Yeah.
And you never quite clarified. You're not okay. So that doesn't work. That's not plausible. It's not plausible that he wasn't meaningfully aware of this.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. Cool. Now let's.
If anything, that's actually
clarified.
more
Stop.
Was...
I see Dusty Pixie says he clarified. Avi is not making a point about his clarification on the issue of whether you're conscientious objector or conscripting. He's making a point about the use of the term inbred. Okay, so don't get confused. Yes, he clarified that he's in favor of conscientious objectors, but that's not what Avi is.
Yeah. Notice what he didn't say. He did not say. He never said. Sorry.
Those people
I
aren't
actually
inbred.
said. Yeah. And those people aren't inbred. He never said that. Nor did he ever like clarify like, oh shit, I need to like really hold on. I apologize. I just called the whole group. I called ultra-Orthodox inbred without any qualifiers. Apologies. Just to be clear, I'm just referring to those who are not resisting. I'm just referring to the Zionists, that slim majority of the ultra-Orthodox, and or I'm just referring to those who are wanting to conscript. 2%, by the way, that ended up conscripting. I'm just referring to the 2% of the group I just mentioned. He never said any of that.
He's just calling the ones who stayed and fight are inbred, but you're just inventing things he didn't say, right? That's my response to that is I don't think I heard him say that it's just the ones who are fighting.
He never said that. He never conditioned. That's very important. He never conditioned the inbred status. He did on whether they were. He said if they want the smoke, enlist. He never said if they want the smoke, they're inbred. He never said that. That's not true.
Right. So play it again. Play it again so people can see that difference.
Let's play it. Let's play it again.
From the military, but there has been a failure for that to happen.
Bro, literally both options are hilarious. The ultra Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon.
He didn't. So notice he didn't say if they serve in the military, then they're inbred. He said if they serve in the military and they get their inbred asses.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not conditionalizing it on whether they're serving or not.
On again,
and pause real quick
again.
Can you make a comparison statement from like a right winger, make a hypothetical.
Yeah. Imagine if this is done. Okay, like let's say there was a group of Mexican. So you know how we're at there's like some violence with the Mexican drug cartels, and we were like, we might have some issues with them. Okay, so let's say there's issues with the Mexican drug cartels, and there is a Mexican group that by and large is not supportive of the drug cartels, and by and large 98% of them, the cartels are trying to get them into their cartel, but they're trying to resist the cartel. 98% of them successfully resist it. Yeah. Okay. Now we were talking, and then someone says, bro, and then they say, okay, well, if you're going to force us into the cartel, we're just going to leave Mexico. Like it's at that level. And then some right winger, some Nick Fuentes guy goes like, man, isn't that so funny? I just find that hilarious. These Mexicans, I find both options hilarious. If the Mexicans leave Mexico, fucking hilarious. And the other option, if the Mexicans get their untrained, if they serve and get their untrained inbred asses handed to them, fucking hilarious. And yeah, I know some of them, they want to not be in the cartel, and I'm aware of that, and I'm with them all the way. But yeah, if they want the smoke, serve. Yeah, no one would be no one would be searching for defenses like this.
I agree.
This is just floundering.
Is Mexico a genocidal apartheid state? Irrelevant. I mean, I don't know. Why? That's just not. I don't think that's relevant.
Yeah, even if it was, no one would be no one would be searching for exonerating things.
Because presumably in that context, the subgroup is fighting against whatever, at least participating in the thing that But yeah, no, I've been thoroughly convinced by that clip that's significantly raises credence. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, by the way, I'm going to keep going, but by the way, I actually do think this is enough. I think this is enough to come to a conclusion that Hasan is meaningfully, especially because of how he responded to it afterwards, how he lied about it, avoided taking any responsibility of it, and any responsibility he did take was tactical. So there's also reflection about it. I actually think this, even if I didn't have any more evidence at this point, I think this is enough to form a conclusion that Hasan is meaningfully anti-Semitic beyond we're all just a little bit anti-Semitic.
Well, and think about how people would apply the statement like Ben Shapiro's about living in open sewage and giving a statement regarding
without a genuine walk back, you would be right to say that too about Ben Shapiro.
And you may think that, and by the way, I think that Ben Shapiro, based on things I've seen, is meaningfully racist against Arabs and Palestinians. So I just want to be clear on that, folks. I want to be consistent in how I apply that, and it doesn't mean, by the way, that any of your other beliefs are necessarily affected. I just think that you should be consistent in applying, your standards here.
Okay, so at this point, are you at least convinced that minimally Hasan Piker
above the?
Let me just say it. I'm going to say it. I want to. I'm pushing for a clear concession. Well, not concession because you didn't disagree.
I didn't deny it.
You weren't aware. You weren't aware. But do you believe Hasan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic and not in a trivial way, not in sort of we're all just anti-Semitic? No. He is meaningfully anti-Semitic in a non-normal way.
Based on that statement, yes, and based on the non-walkback.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Now we're gonna keep going. Okay. We're gonna play a clip, and we're gonna. By the way, I know that you don't. I asked you about this person. I know you don't. If Loner, do you know this person? Is Loner? Is he still with us? Oh no.
Someone says I would not call a Republican racist if they only had one bad statement against black people is incorrectly calling an ultra-Orthodox black group inbred. Genuinely, that is not very conclusive. And again, I'm not saying that he, like, I'm not taking the hatred version of it or the maximalist Hitler version of it. I just think that, like, yeah, it's more, you guys would.
Yeah, no, one statement can do it. Like the Ben Shapiro statement, I actually think just that statement, that does it unless he gives a genuine walkback. Now, if he did, that's a different story.
Yeah.
We can check the record on that. But yes, like, especially one statement can do it. It's not like the number of statements. One statement can do it, especially if there's knowledge of it, there's reflection of it, there's people pressed him on it. He did not express genuine remorse. He did not express genuine regret. He expressed only tactical regret. He reflected on it, and after all is said and done,
he should apologize for that.
After all is said and done,
yeah.
And that is a different, and that's not that, again, that is not explained on the hypothesis. That there's no good way to explain some hypothesis that he's not meaningfully anti-Semitic. Those other ways you can do it, but they're going to be mental. They're going to be what we've seen so far. They're going to be mental gymnastics. And again, let's take the standard. Like, again, if someone said the same thing, like, you would be, oh well, it was just one time. It was just one time. I just called the Haitians they're inbred asses.
They're eating the cats and dogs.
Yeah, they're exactly. People were willing to do it. If that was even, there were people willing to conclude it on that, or at least form a meaningful full credence. This is just ridiculous. Like, what I'm seeing right now, what I'm saying, it's mental gymnastics, and you should ask yourself, honestly. I think, because I don't believe this. You should ask yourself why there is. Yeah, go ahead.
Resistance to it. That's because Ben Shapiro made a blanket statement about all Arabs. This is not comparable to the statement about an ultra-Orthodox religious sect who
he didn't say the words all Arabs. He did not say the word all Arabs. That's
Palestinian Arabs. He think. Yeah, I think he said.
He didn't even say all Palestinian Arabs. He made a general statement.
He
want
said,
to pull the tweet?
Yeah, I'll pull the tweet.
Pull it. He didn't say all.
Shapiro.
What was I being asked about? Apparently, I was being asked about something earlier.
I don't think. Were you?
No, I wanted to ask.
Okay, hang on. Israelis like to build. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Yeah, that's a general statement about Arabs. Like, he didn't say all. The chatter said he said all. Chatter said he's making a statement about all of them.
But interpret the chatter as saying now, more generalized, not a subgroup.
Yes. So maybe it is. So, but again, so let's equalize it then. Let's equalize it. If Ben Shapiro went and said, "Hey, those Palestinians who are trying to fight Hamas, those Palestinians, and I know this is the group that are trying to avoid conscription by Hamas, not fight Hamas, but avoid conscription by Hamas. I'm aware of this." I think it would just be so funny. Either way, if they leave Palestine or if they got their untrained inbred asses shipped to Israel and they want the smoke, hilarious.
Yeah, you would grant that, guys, in 2 seconons. And just to be clear,
you would grant that in 2.
And also, exactly. Avi is saying that that's really a racist statement, by the way, on the bench. I just want to clear it up. Avi is not saying that.
Even if it was one statement, that was the one statement.
No, but you are saying the Ben Shapiro statement is racist. You're not saying that it's not. You're not.
Yes.
You're granting.
Yes.
It. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It is. And even if it was the one statement,
it doesn't really help Hasan's case that he was willing to bring out that particular word with the group that is like the most visibly Jewish ones, right? Like, the ones that look the most
visibly Jewish and the least, most visibly Jewish, least Zionist,
and awareness
that there's and awareness that he thinks this is the group that you're going to get. You're going to start seeing conscientious objectors from. Yeah, like that.
What was being asked about earlier, though?
I don't remember if there was a question.
I actually?
Did you have something?
No, I did have something, but I actually forgot what I was gonna ask Loner.
Sure.
Okay. But anyway, now to me that is probably the strongest one. There's other. I'm still gonna add things that are meaningful but somewhat weaker, just to like cherry on top of the cake.
Okay, sure.
So let's play this clip.
Is it your sense that Jewish people are getting complacent, that they're not engaging to degrees and levels we should be?
I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre on October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized. But that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life.
Mm-hmm. And whose responsibility is that?
All of ours.
Yeah.
But this is why we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is that intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace. And look, I fight anti-Semitism. That is my job.
Right.
But I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity, as I think we talked about over lunch.
Okay, so I'm going to read the full. This was a clip. I'm going to read the full transcript of what Greenblatt is saying here. What Greenblatt said. So David Cohen says, "Is it your sense that the Jewish people are getting complacent, that they are not engaging to degrees of levels that we should be?" Jonathan Greenblatt says, "I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre of October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized, but that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life." Cohen says, "And whose responsibility is that?" Greenblatt says, "All of ours." But this is where we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace. And look, I fight anti-Semitism, that's my job, but I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity, as I think we talked about over lunch. And so I think it's really important that our synagogues, our schools, summer camps, all of our institutions and the federations and denominations and other groups that sort of manage them. And I think we need to look in the mirror and make sure that we're doing everything we can to adapt and to iterate and to be part of where the world is going, not just where the world has been. That's the full quote. Mm-hmm. So Jonathan Greenblatt is, so Chris Menahan, who Hasan Piker is quote tweeting. Oh, this is the question I want to ask LonerBox. Do you know who Chris Menahan is? Because I know that I know Pisco doesn't.
I don't know this.
No, I don't.
Okay, this is basically, I would describe Chris Menahan as a Groyper adjacent account. He basically, the tag is here. The tag is publisher of independent news site informationliberation.com, as seen on Drudge, Infowars, Zero Hedge, and more. America First. Basically, if you go to Chris Menahan's stuff, and you can do this for yourself. It is nonstop Jew, Israel, dual loyalty, more Jew, more Israel, more Jew, zog, dual loyalty, etc. Like that. It's just slop like that. Now, this happens to be one example of what Chris Menahan mischaracterized in my view. So we're going to go through the mischaracterization first before we get to how this ties into Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism. So he says ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt laments that intermarriage rates are continuing to rise among Jews. This turns out his anti-racist shtick only goes so far. So Jonathan Greenblatt is the ADL person. He's like, fight racism, fight anti-Semitism. And what he's saying is that, actually, hold on, Jonathan Greenblatt. Here you are lamenting intermarriage rates. Isn't that racist of you? Aren't you a racist? You're supposed to be fighting racism. And Hasan Piker says, the way Hasan Piker, he looks at this quote and says, no, that's not even going far enough. Let's go further. He said the 14 words, but Jewish. Do you guys know what the 14 words is?
No.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Loner knows the 14. So the 14 words is a well-known white supremacist slogan coined by David Lane. He was a member of the neo-Nazi terrorist group, The Order. And that slogan is, we must secure the existence of our people and our future for white children. There's a secondary, less commonly used version, which is like something along the lines of, because the beauty of the white Aryan woman must not perish from the earth. So basically, it's great replacement memes. So what Hasan is saying is, Jonathan Greenblatt, what you just said is basically the 14 words, but Jewish. You're basically saying the 14 words, that the neo-Nazi slogan, we must. You're basically saying the slogan, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. It's just the Jewish version of it. And because it's just the Jewish version of it, that's allowing you to masquerade as a civil rights organization leader.
Mm-hmm.
So, couple of things there. Number one, that's a mischaracterization. Jonathan Greenblatt actually never said that. He referenced intermarriage rates. He referenced that intermarriage rates as a explanatory factor, along with assimilation. But he never lamented it, nor did any of his prescriptions actually involve doing anything about intermarriage rates.
Okay, but is referencing it? So, is the reference alone of note? I mean, like, suppose that you had someone who you're referencing marriage rates among white people or something like that. So talk about the kind of like, well, they may not have lamented in the way you're saying or prescribed regarding it, but
he referenced it as an explanatory factor for, and then what he said he worried about was the future of Jewish identity. Yeah, Jewish identity. He specifically said what I worry about is Jewish identity. Okay, so what Hasan and Chris Menahan are both doing here is they're both first of all, this is mischaracterizing. It's on multiple levels. They're mischaracterizing Greenblatt's concern about Jewish identity and bringing up intermarriage rates as an explanatory variable of how identity is changing.
Can you pause real quick? And would you treat white identity different in that context? Like, we need to protect white identity.
If all else were equal, if someone were to say, if white people were 0.2% of the population, plausibly on the verge of extinction, not even recovered pre-Holocaust levels, and someone just meant like, hey, our white communities, I worry about like the broader implications about the identity, and I think we should focus on the schools. I think we should focus on the community. I think we should do that. Not really, and I wouldn't say that for any other minority, because in this hypothetical,
really, because I hear this, and maybe I'm out of a limb here, because like people will say this about like American Indian culture. We need to preserve American Indian culture, whatever. Yeah, and but
Jonathan Greenblatt didn't say that. But he didn't say preserve. He didn't even say that. He didn't even say preserving it. He wanted to strengthen that. He didn't that even that he didn't say.
But if like we said, he had said, I want to preserve Jewish identity.
Okay. Yeah. But even so, I would say, I would say, maybe there's a little bit there that I'm like, why? Maybe you can say, okay, well, you can take a view, even if you do take a view where it's like, all right, well, it's kind of weird that we want to preserve a racial identity. Like, why would we care about any racial identity, whether it's Indians or whether it's whites or whether it's Jews? Okay. Is it the 14 words? Is it the neo-Nazi Great Replacement?
No, I don't think if someone says
majority, and they want to.
If somene's upset, for example, that they want to preserve Mexican identity or they want to preserve their whatever, I'm not
going. And not even advocating by not intermarrying, not advocating by not intermarrying, by advocating for broader community, like broader community ties. So if someone said that, first off, the mischaracterization, this doesn't even get to the anti-Semitism, but the mischaracterization is this is nowhere near the 14 words. The 14 words are great replacement memes. Like, they want a supermajority. They want a supermajority, and they want to, even at the point of force. At the point of force, some will be more sophisticated. They'll say, oh, well, we'll pay the non-whites to leave. Like, all of those prescriptions, like, that is not even remotely what's going on here.
So you're saying the 14 points implies a couple of different things. One is it implies a intolerance for other groups. It implies a prescription, radical, drastic prescriptions beyond which merely an in-group preference does not have, let's say, or an identity preference does not contain. And that there's a kind of like supermajority implication as well, that it's not just about minimally preserving some culture, but about like dominating and
Yes.
I think I'm tracking.
Yes. All of those are disanalogous. So number one, all of that was just completely mischaracterized by Chris Menahan and Hasan Abi. But notice what else Hasan Abi says. He goes further. and he can still masquerade as a civil rights organization leader. The implication being, if you give a nod, now we can say, oh, well, maybe Hasan didn't watch the clip or whatever. Okay, maybe. But at minimum, he's saying, if you support if you give or even give a nod to endogamy, you are disqualified. Like, it's farcical that you are a civil rights organization leader.
And that's not true of the NAACP, and you wouldn't apply that to...
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an inconsistent standard.
Yeah.
And notice, which two races is he applying that standard to?
Jews and white people.
Jews and white people. Again,
Yeah.
Jews and white people, the prototypical two races that progressives are stereotypically racist against. We're back to Jews and whites. He has very clearly, he has no problem recognizing civil
Black
rights
solidarity, Hispanic solidarity,
Malcolm
Palestinian
X,
solidarity.
even in the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Malcolm X and his Nation of Islam. He has no problem recognizing that Malcolm X in the Nation of Islam days, who was a very strict endogamist. He was a segregationist. He loves Malcolm X. He has no problem recognizing that.
Isn't this the guy that defended Elon Musk's Sieg Heil? But putting aside that whole thing, and I know Avi have views on it. I think we actually differ on that. Yeah. But that's just irrelevant to this. It could be the case that this guy's inconsistent and sweeping for all that, and this would still be true. I think it would be irresponsible.
Yeah. So my view on Elon Musk. I don't know why it's relevant, but sure. My view is that he was drugged up on ketamine, and he's drugged up on ketamine.
Absolutely
he performed a motion that looked like Sieg Heil. He had rainbows coming out of his ass from the ketamine when he was doing it. And do I think he intentionally did a Sieg Heil? I actually suspect not. What I do blame him for was that you have to be stupid after. You have to be stupid, and this does raise my credence about racism with Elon Musk, because after, when he came off the ketamine, ketamine drug trip, it was very obvious how that looked. And someone with a brand, any sort of thing, even if he's would recognize how that looks and apologize for it. And he didn't. Not only did he not, he kind of memed about it. He pressed smiley faces and stuff.
Yeah. So you would say that in your view, Elon Musk is non-trivially racist too.
Yeah, well, not to the same degree as Hasan. Actually, I think the Hasan thing is worse on multiple levels, because I think it's much harder to deny.
Yeah, but what about AFD support also? You're just saying the one incident there?
No, I'm just saying this one instance. I'm not talking about AFD support.
I just want to make sure people understand. He's not saying anything other than the one incident versus the one incident, not Elon Musk's broader track record.
I think this incident is worse than Elon Musk doing that Sieg Heil thing and not apologizing for it, because in a number of reasons. The walk back was purely tactical, and same thing with Elon Musk, but he had knowledge about it. He, just like Elon Musk, but he also lied about it. That's at least one thing Elon Musk didn't do. He didn't straight up lie about it. Also, the insult itself is much more direct. Hasan Piker was not on drugs, and then the drugs just happened to be inbred asses is much easier to read than you
think he's more lucid? Yeah. Okay. I mean, here's a question from the chat.
I will just one second. Just one bit of information about Greenblatt that is probably relevant is the only other time I've seen him ever talk about intermarriage was in 2019 when he was calling out the Israeli education minister who compared intermarriage to a second Holocaust. As in, he was saying that's a really bad thing to say. So he's
making statements against endogamy there.
Yeah, he's
yeah. So he's not an adult. Oh yeah, I agree.
Intermarriage and birth rates, all that. It's not even the top 50 things that he tends to care about. Yeah.
No, he's not. No, to be clear, Greenblatt is not an endogamist. He's criticized endogamy. Hasan Piker has completely misconstrued him.
I want to say
he's not only misconstrued. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say I think the Sieg Heil thing or the Roman salute thing is that, just for me, given the reaction to it, regardless of him being high, which I grant that he was high or whatever, I think that it's just so obvious you need to do some ameliorative work. You need to, like, to me, that raises that raises my above and beyond even the inbred thing. But I think we can both agree, regardless of if you disagree on that they both raise beyond that threshold for each of us. So even if you disagree on that,
sure. So we might quibble about but yes. Okay, cool.
There's a question here about LonerBox. LonerBox, is it true that you called Jewish settlers inbred on stream, and is that anti-Semitic?
I've probably called. I've probably used inbred for like every fucking militant group that I don't like in the region. So probably, but it's also, you know, Islamophobic and also anti everything.
LonerBox, have you ever used the term inbred for non-militant groups that are trying to avoid the military?
No, I haven't. No, I think the person I called inbred more than anyone else was that fucking war criminal. Which one?
Wait a minute. Hold on. So see the difference? How that's harder to explain on other hypotheses, chatter. Like, see the difference? How that's harder to explain. LonerBox hasn't called anyone who's trying to avoid going into the military someone who's inbred.
So it should not grant Elon being on high. I just think that he was high a lot during that time period, and there's been like
he was high he was high. The reports were that he was high basically all the time.
Yeah.
Like he had basically a profound addiction to ketamine. Yeah. And you could see, like, by the way, it doesn't take a lot of, like, you don't have to be a doctor to see this. Like, he was just going like I'm not gonna imitate his expressions, but if you look at his, you know what, maybe I will. Like, you know, if you go, he's like all of that, that stuff. He was not there. Very clearly. So, but yes, still, no, I agree. Like after you get lucid, like holy hell.
Okay.
Like you should address that.
And so the point here is largely
Hasan was lucid all the time. Just to be clear.
The point here is we're treating racial or in-group solidarity or whatever. First of all, we're misconstruing Greenblatt. That's doing some work for you, apparently, right, Avi? And there's go for it. Sorry.
I think his rates of because I don't see him coming out and comparing. Again, like, do I see the same sort of thing where Hasan Piker makes misconstruals for which he ends up coincidentally comparing concerns about Jewish community to neo-Nazi ideology? Do I see that to Palestinian solidarity? Do I see that with Arab solidarity? Do I see that with Black solidarity? No. I don't see him misconstrue that and compare it to Nazi stuff. That's one point of double standard. The other point of double standard is it's precluding being one's ability to be a civil rights leader in the Jewish context and
I get Martin Luther King.
and now we get Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Even he recognizes Malcolm X as a civil rights leader who is way more strict than monogamous.
Oh yeah.
It was a full-blown separationist in the nation, and he recognizes that he was a civil rights leader in the Nation of Islam days. So there's multiple points of inconsistency, and again, you could string up auxiliary hypotheses. No one's denying you could string up auxiliary hypotheses. For example, perhaps Hasan just craves out an exception for the civil rights era. Perhaps he really loves Malcolm X, and so he's carving out a special exception for Malcolm X.
Or he's pro-Muslim.
But again, notice. Yeah, he's pro-Muslim. But regardless, notice what we have to do. Again, more mental gymnastics, more auxiliary hypotheses. To some degree independent. That's tanking our theory down. We have to go more and more. Again, we have to decrease our probability of our countervailing to avoid anti-Semitism. Now,
I think it's also quite clear that if you, I don't know if either of you have seen this, but like, do you know how quickly Hasan will call you Islamophobic if you even say anything about not only subgroups of Arabs, but organizations in the Arab world? If you use the wrong language against Hamas, I think even if you probably called Hamas inbred, Hasan would call you Islamophobic for that.
Yeah, I have not noticed that.
Barbaric or like,
I will say though, there seems to be like a great deal of tolerance for significant amounts of anti-Muslim rhetoric, and like a almost insensitivity to it among our politicians. Like, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's just all my vibes or whatever. But like, I think that there's like a great deal of fucking, for example, when it's, who's this representative from, I don't know if he's from Florida, but when they say like glass all the Palestinians, or when they say you know, all these Muslim people should be deported, or
meaningfully racist.
Yeah, I think, and I'm glad that you agree to that. When Will Chamberlain says, you know, Hasan should be deported, and you know, Mehdi should be deported and denaturalized, all that shit. But I just think that Avi would bite the bullet there.
It's not a bullet.
Yeah.
It's a chocolate snack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I just,
of course it is.
I just don't think there's a disagreement there.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna go at, now that if we don't disagree that this is also evidence,
it raises my credence.
Raises the credence. Is this the sort of thing we would get a normie wandering themselves into? You know, where we're all just a little bit racist, where we would expect a normie to say, you know, concerns about your own community and identity is Nazi shit.
I mean, I don't think so, but like here, I will say that there's something peculiar in my mind that stands out when someone says, oh, I want to, like, white identity, white this and that. I know there are confounding factors here, and it has to do with like, but it seems kind of ad hoc or arbitrary. Can you address that? Because like, or maybe it's not arbitrary.
Wait,
maybe it's
not. What's the issue that's being?
So like, for example, if someone says, I want to preserve whiteness, I want to preserve white, you know, we need to make sure that we're embracing white identity. I think that has a different ring to it.
Yes, it does, and there's reasons for that. I went over them. The reasons for that are, when someone says that, they typically do not mean, and even if you're somewhat uncomfortable with 0.2% of the population just wanting to preserve their existence, even if you take the view, same thing for Native Americans.
Yep.
The reason it has a different ring to it is because when they say that, they don't mean that. They typically mean that they want a supermajority at the point of force. They're oppositional to other groups. They want to force other groups out, or buy them out, and they view it as other races as an existential threat.
So the symmetry breaker is what they mean by what they're saying there.
Yes, they mean something very different.
Yeah,
extremely different.
Okay,
so again, my going back to the degree. Is this, we're all just a little bit racist? Is this at the level? I'm not saying is this Hitler stuff, but is this we're all just a tad bit racist? You know, does a normal person who's a little bit anti-Semitic find themselves saying concerns about Jewish identity is neo-Nazi stuff?
No, I don't think so.
No. This is not just a little bit racist. And finally, for me, because rather than just going like spamming a whole bunch of stuff, I want to focus
like on three meaningful examples and
three meaningful.
Yeah, just one more question about this last one. I don't know if you guys cover. There is also something kind of insidious about this idea of, he said the 14 words, but Jewish, he can still masquerade as a civil rights right. As in, like, there's this kind of, you often see neo-Nazis do this as well. It's like they'll say that.
Yes, this is a very common neo-Nazi trope.
The thing that the Jews basically use their trauma of the Holocaust so that they can have a power and an ability to behave in a way.
But they don't allow it for white people. They have the inconsistent.
Yeah, the Jew shield.
Yep. This is neo-Nazi tropey as well. And by the way, it's coming from a Groyper adjacent account. So that's also not
that's additional indicia, yeah, for sure. And by the way, there has been, this is a little tangential, but I think it's relevant. There have been, I don't typically do this. Like, there are some things where I will say I agree with this person who said a horrible thing. Like, I agree with Tucker on this, or I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. But just be aware that if we're taking issue with people like using Fox News narratives or whatever, and that's a way like that carries some weight for you, I think you need to be consistent in terms of the identity of the account here. Just be consistent whenever you.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, when someone I believe I recall people getting upset when people were spreading Fox News narratives about certain when lefties were spreading Fox News narratives about a certain liberal politician.
The Crowley.
Does that ring a bell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a conversation about that on the.
So that's. Yeah.
But you guys should check out, by the way, folks, we're Consolidated Channel. You should go follow Libid Nerd on Twitch and YouTube. Sorry.
Okay, and now the third example I wanted to bring is going to be, you know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the example you and North talked about, pig dog.
Pig dog, yeah. I thought you weren't going to bring this one up.
No, I'm not going to focus on it.
Okay.
But it's not part of the maintenance. It's weaker evidence. So here's the issue with the pig dog thing is a weaker case, but the case I'm making with it is very different than what North did. So if you're tracking my train of thought here, you probably can predict what my case is going to be. But a couple things. So number one, I mean the issue with pig dog is not that it's inherently an anti-Semitic slur.
You don't agree with North with that, and people saying that shit.
No, it's not.
And
it's
you
not,
agree with Hasan that it's not.
Nor am I convinced. Yeah, I agree, Hasan. It's not. It's towards capitalists. It's towards. It's towards all. It's towards. You can. It was even. I'm even willing to grant that's a generic insult. That's all fine. It was on Shrek. You know, Puss in Boots is like, you capitalist pig dog.
Yeah.
Fine. That's not the issue. So one thing that's not necessarily an issue is you should note that this is dehumanizing language, which in and of itself is not necessarily a problem. I don't take the view that dehumanization is inherently bad. Like, for example, there's all sorts of dehumanization that I don't really care about. For example, calling Russian soldiers orcs, right? That happens. Does that bother me? Do I care about that? No, there are certain contexts where dehumanizing language actually might be a good thing. I don't care about that. Okay, what I'm interested in is how you're using that, what the context is. You should be number one. First of all, you should be careful about doing that. I want to qualify myself here. Whenever you're talking about an ethnic group or religion or anything like that, and you are talking about animals, you should be very careful. Now, there are still cases where dehumanization can be very defensible.
In the case of, for example, I'll often say, about the MAGA elites, by which I mean people like Trump and JD Vance. I'll use language, and we'll sometimes compare them to animals and shit like that. Like, he's a dog, right? But there, I don't think you'd have an issue with that inherently.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with that inherently. Okay. So, but now I just have one little question. And it's the same question for every bit of evidence.
Does he apply it to the same way to anyone who's not a white person or a Jewish person?
Yes, exactly. The answer is no. There's no clear example. There is no example. Is there any confirmed example where he has applied that to a non-white, non-Jewish person? And it's funny because his own community has gone through all the examples where he used it. And they are white people. And by the way, he's sarcastically, jokingly referred that to himself, which, by the way, doesn't count. He thinks he's white, but also that he wasn't using it as a slur in that context. He was joking around.
If you don't buy the white racism angle, does your whole case fall apart?
If I don't what?
If people don't subscribe that he's racist against white people, does your whole case fall apart?
No, it doesn't, because even if you don't think he's racist against white people, you still have to explain why it's not other groups, why it's not non-white groups. Like he could, that can deflate the case a bit by saying, okay, well, there's clear examples of him doing it against groups he's not racist against, but it still doesn't explain. It still doesn't explain why he's doing it vis-a-vis Jews versus the other groups. Like, so
someone is yelling, it's right wingers. Like, how has this not been said? But if you're just saying, well, he treats right wingers
only the white right winger, only the white and Jewish right wingers. Okay, so again, effect modifier. Like, it can be an effect modifier. It can be a subset. So again, like, if someone is using a slur against white right wingers, but only
white and Jewish
against white and Jewish right wingers, that is racist.
Chad, I think you have to grant that, right? Like, if it really was the case that you only call a certain race, let's say you only call black people. Have you ever had those analyses or these skits where Joe Rogan only calls black athletes specimen? And they do this kind of thing, the white guy's clinical, and the white guys, but then they always talk about black people in these terms like specimen.
No, it's athletes. What do you mean? It's athletes. He's not being racist. It's athletes.
I think you guys would all grant that, like, yeah, Joe Rogan's fucking racist when he does that shit. I think that like I'm not saying that he is hating of the race of black people or that he knows it consciously necessarily, but I think that we're sensitive to the modifier account that Avi is providing. I think that that's fair. Avi, what do you think?
But it is the consistency that matters, right? Like if you called basically anyone you don't a pig dog, you're probably not using it in a racist way, right?
Yes, there's a difference.
That's good because I'm looking at my Filmbot right now, and I call so many different racial groups in
yes,
inbred.
There is a huge difference.
Did you wait? LonerBox, have you ever called a black person inbred?
Probably. There's like fucking over 100 mentions here. Like.
I think we have to do an inbred analysis.
If there's a fucking Nation of Islam person, or even the fact is though,
okay, that's presumably a black person.
Even in the sense that even in the way that I use it, like if this was like the only thing you knew about me, and I would probably even own that. Like sometimes I do just use racial humor. Like every Jew in my audience knows this very well.
Yeah, but that's not the way. Yeah, but hold on. But hold on. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about using the word inbred as a racial humor thing. Like, and that's clearly not the way Hasan was using it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's also when you compile it with like the totality of everything else I talk about.
No, he was using it he was using it with hate. Let's be honest. Hate, prejudice, like that's how this was not like the stand-up.
This is not stand-up. I agree with that. I don't think you can say it's ironic. I listened to that clip now like 8 times. It doesn't sound ironic. It doesn't sound like a joke. I don't think that that's a plausible case. And the way it was kind of defended and swept by Mehdi, I was joking, right? You would expect, right, if this was a joke or if it was ironic, that would be the refutation, that would be, I just joke around. But yeah. I don't think
instead he lied about doing it, completely misconstrued it, or at minimum completely misconstrued it, and admitted the only admission of regret was tactical.
Yeah.
And then reframed it as he's the victim and it's the ADL's fault.
Good case, Avi. See, like, and I'm gonna take some umbrage with like this is I feel maybe I'm just fucking victimizing myself, whatever. I feel like I'm amenable to reasonable evidence. The same thing happened on the Marxist-Leninist point, and I just I think that this is a good case. Now, that said, I don't put Hasan Piker in the same category as Nick Fuentes, and I think that you would be crazy to do so, right? I truly don't.
And here's the interesting. There's the important point. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to condemn Hasan Piker as someone who is non-trivially meaningful, someone who is meaningfully anti-Semitic.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, no, I think that all follows.
Okay. And now, since we've gotten agreement on this, we should talk about something that's even worse than anti-Semitism.
Anti-Zionism? Rabid.
Anti-Zionism.
You're saying rabid anti-Zionism?
Anti-Zionism. Rabid anti-Zionism.
So talk about it.
So here's what
people are going to say that I'm an Israel op. You realize that? Because I'm even platforming Avi.
Okay. Welcome to the club. Join the Mossad. Okay. So here's what I want to draw attention to something. Okay. Do you know when you hear Ben Gvir say some crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
Now you could frame that. There's a way of framing the Ben Gvir stuff as, well, I condemn Ben Gvir for his anti-Arab bias.
Have I heard that?
Condemn Ben Gvir? Yeah, for his No. Someone could say that. I'm just saying someone could say that.
Sure.
I condemn Ben Gvir, which is true. Like you like in the context of the things Ben Gvir said, like there was I think in 2007 there was a chant where he's like "Death to Arabs" or something. Like he has anti-Arab bias.
I forget the shooter guy that he put the image of, and he comes from like the Kahanist tradition, right? Mir Kahan.
Mm-hmm. Right. That being said, I don't think anyone normal who's paying attention only condemns Ben Gvir merely for anti-Arab bias.
Of course not.
It's not merely. No one has a problem recognizing that Ben Gvir is a rabid Zionist. It's not just a Zionist, he's a rabid Zionist.
An extremist.
He has a very toxic, extremist, toxic, and dangerous ideology, dangerous variant of Zionism. Okay? Do you remember the shooting? Now, do you remember the shooting in New York with the Israeli diplomats?
The shooting was it in New York or DC?
Sorry, DC. You're right. Never mind. DC.
It's embassy stuff.
Anti-Semite,
embassy
spreading
stuff,
lies. Yeah.
Nah, there you go. Spreading misinformation. Okay. So do you remember how like all the progressives condemned this?
I think that. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. But how did they condemn it? How did they condemn it? Did they?
It was like this is the kind of shit that happens when you let a genocide fester, kind of deal.
No. There were definitely those. Yeah, there were definitely those. No, I'm talking about the more polished ones like AOC and stuff. How did AOC condemn it?
This is a big problem.
It's anti. I condemn the anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I condemn the anti-Semitism. Now, is there an anti-Semitic component to what happened? Sure. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to stake out a ground and deny that there was an anti-Semitic component to it. Like the target was clearly Israeli. The target was clear on the basis of them being Israeli. Not, maybe Jewish had something to do with it. He did go into a synagogue, and so that was reckless of just going into a synagogue with a gun. So yeah, there is probably an anti-Semitic component to that. But if you actually look at the facts of that case, this is way more anti-Zionist in motivation than it was an anti-Semitic motivation. It's probably both. But only the anti-Semitic component
was called out.
Gets called out. And I think that's a very bad...
Wait, pause. The act itself is also called out in virtue of it being murder.
No, the act itself.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. But the ideologies that got called out was only the anti-Semitism, not the rabid, toxic anti-Zionism.
Okay. Now, can you clarify, what do you mean by toxic, rabid?
Right?
Yes. Yeah. It's the same, analogously, it's the same sort of thing I'm referring to by rabid, toxic Zionism. The same, so when it gets into a form of extremism, where it is dangerous, it is spewing with hatred, it is calling for supporting terrorism, supporting violence, justifying terrorism, those sorts of things, in the same sort of way that Ben Gvir, when he supports settler violence,
uses Zionism
Zionism, yes, and gets rightfully called out as a rabid Zionist for that. People who are rabid anti-Zionists, rabid anti-Zionism that sweeps for terrorism, supports it, where the anti-Zionism
it's a stretch, obvious. I want to respond. So, this is what I think. Anti-Semitism has been conceptualized. It's something in the zeitgeist. It's something that people, as a bigotry in and of itself. It's something that's taught about. It's something that people are warned against, right? It's something that.
But when you say it's a stretch, what do you think is a stretch? What do you think I'm saying?
The notion that the antis, that people would think to condemn the rabid anti-Zionism aspect.
No, I'm not. Yeah, they may not think about it. I'm not saying it's their fault. That they're not thinking of.
Then I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying they're like, because I think this has been an insidious thing that's happened over time. To be clear, I'm not saying it's like you're condemnable for not recognizing the rabid anti-Zionism. That's not what I'm saying.
But the thing is, I'm sorry, maybe I'm having an issue with it. Like,
yeah. Like, wait, what do you think I'm saying? You need to know what I'm saying before you have an issue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm saying, this is a call for a prescription. I'm calling for a prescription to be.
Okay.
So what I am saying is, I'm saying when we see support for terrorism, when we see actual terrorism that might be mostly motivated by Zionism, here's what I think we should make an effort to do. I think we should make an effort to have an avenue where it is okay to condemn rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism. It doesn't preclude you from also condemning it as anti-Semitic. You can do that too. But I think we should be more sensitive to rabid, toxic, dangerous forms of anti-Zionism and to condemn it as such. That's
in
my
any
prescription.
more way than I would condemn, for example, the lefty transgender shooters and be like, this form of transgender ideology that is so rabid in favor of it. Like, I get it. Well, is it a strong prescription? I mean, like, what's there could be a calculus.
Yeah, so here's what I've noticed. Here's what I noticed. Here's the importance, because if you don't have that avenue, what ends up happening is not consciously, people are going to tend to think that in order for them to condemn it, they're going to think, well, how do I fit this into anti-Semitism so I could condemn it? You don't need to, I'm saying you don't need to fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it and to have a word for it, to call it, to pick it out as the rabid form of anti-Zionism that it is and to condemn it as such. I'm not saying you must do this. Or look at you. Yeah, I'm not saying it's like.
Yeah, but you would say the same thing about like forms of transgender affirming ideologies that are rabid and are calling for potential violence.
Yes, especially people. No. So I I think so the answer is yes. I think we should be more.
The only difference is that we don't have like a. I was going to say the difference is we don't have like a mainstreaming of the pro transgender affirming care ideology leading you into a path where you end up justifying targeting of civilians.
Yeah, we'll just distinguish. Hang on a second. But then, Avi, are you suggesting that like?
Wait, what's the question? Hold on. Just be clear. What exactly are you asking me, Pisco? What?
I'm asking. So you're not saying that any particular commentator fits into that bucket of like this rabid anti-Zionism that you're sort of condemning, or that you want to be condemned.
I'm not. So I'm not saying that. I do think so, but that's not what I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
I'm talking about so what I'm talking about is a phenomena that I've noticed. I've noticed something, and I think other people have noticed it too, where you have an action that has like both components, rabid anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism in some combination.
Okay.
Many times it's even more heavily weighted on the rabid anti-Zionism and motivation compared to the anti-Semitism. Sometimes
where
it's
the
like
anti-Zionism is the more motivating force for whatever conduct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is the more motivating force for the conduct. And I see time and time again, those actions only get condemned in virtue of their anti-Zionism, not in virtue of their rabid anti-Semitism.
The opposite. They're only condemned.
The opposite. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I misspoke. Yeah. Only get condemned in virtue of their anti-Semitic component and nothing about the rabid anti-Zionist motivations there. And what I'm saying is, I think when an issue is 90-10, rabid anti-Zionist, terrorist shit, 10% anti-Semitic, I think the anti-Zionist component should be condemned too. The rabid aspect of it.
Yeah. So I think that's trivial, but I would just apply that to Democrats who, like, so for example, people have said about Destiny with respect to commentary on the shooting of Trump or the attempted assassination, and people have said calling Charlie Kirk a fascist or calling Trump a fascist. You're contributing to a culture that is causing these left-wing violent attacks on, for example, Charlie Kirk, and assassination attempts on Trump. And so you're rabid anti-Trumpism, you're rabid anti-MAGA. And so walk me through that. Is there any kind of like symmetry breaker there?
So I wait, but so I agree about all. I'm not sure I'm going to disagree about all that. But what I'm noticing is missing that I'm trying to highlight here is the shift into a different pathway. So the rabid anti-Zionism is getting shifted. It's trying to get fit into anti-Semitism so we could condemn it. That's the phenomenon I'm noticing.
I see.
So with the rabid anti-Trumpism, what's the shift? What do you notice it being fit into something else so that it can get condemned?
Yeah, I guess I'm not noticing it being shifted. I mean, maybe like Democrats.
So that's the phenomenon I'm talking about. I'm talking about the shift. Yeah.
Okay.
The phenomenon I'm noticing is that there's a form of rabid hate that is causing terrorism, that is resulting in terrorism. It's terrorist that's motivated in a form of rabid hate, where it is getting shifted into a type of other hate and condemned, so it can be condemned as such.
Okay,
that's what I'm noticing.
If that's what you're condemning, I guess that's fine. But like the prescription wouldn't be use less harsh critique. It wouldn't be like fundamentally change, except to the extent that which you substantively disagree. Obviously, you would have your view on that. But like, for example, when someone tells me you should change your rhetoric about fascism with respect to Trump, because don't you know it's just gonna you're motivating all these people to go do these acts of violence against Trump supporters and Republicans. I say, fuck you. I'm not going to change my rhetoric because you're telling me.
I don't see how I don't see how. Wait, but what is? I'm
basically asking.
Prescription would follow.
The prescription is with respect to the shift and putting it in the category of anti-Semitism. It's not with respect to the commentary substantively, putting aside your disagreements with it.
I'm saying here's my prescription is when you see a terrorist act that is committed 90% motivated by rabid anti-Zionism, 10% is anti-Semitism. The correct thing to do there is to condemn it as rabid anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic
don't claim
terrorism.
It's just anti-Semitic. Okay, got it. All right, yeah.
Yes, that's my prescription.
Okay, all right. No, I think that's fine to acknowledge reality. I guess I see what you're saying. Is like people are denying that there's a causal link between these acts and so the motivation of these people, and kind of like, in that way, that's not being counted or something. It's not being accounted for.
Yes.
It's not
and
being
do
seen.
You see how that's normalized? When that gets normalized, where it's like, oh, every politician, when a terrorist attack that's 90% motivated by rabid anti-Zionism and 10% motivated by anti-Semitism, all the politicians feel the need to only condemn the anti-Semitic component. What are the consequences of that? You see what might happen as well. Yeah.
So what I imagine it would be like is for the people who promote anti-Zionism, for them to be like, listen, guys, I know you hear what we're saying, but we don't. This is bad. Like, we don't want you to take it this far. You might expect to see if basically why is this motivating for you to give that prescription?
What might happen if they don't do that? What might happen if it doesn't get condemned? What might happen is they get a free pass for all sorts of fucked up shit, so long as they can hide the anti-Semitic component well enough.
They being
they being the rabid anti-Zionists. They're just going to get away with anything, and people can be like, "Can I condemn this?" Well, hold on. How do I fit it? Can I fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it? Maybe not. How do I do that? And I'm not going to condemn it until I can fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it as No, condemn it as, you don't need to fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it as rabid anti-Zionism. And if everyone acts like they do, if a whole bunch of people act like they need to do that shift in order to make a condemnation and call this shit out, that's going to lead to a whole bunch of bad consequences. Like you're just giving them a free pass. Rabid anti-Zionists get a free pass so long as they're savvy enough to stay away from being anti-Semitic.
Right, but like, wouldn't the response, if you call them to account or whatever, they'll just be like, well, listen, we never endorsed these kinds of attacks. Yes, we have a lot of these ideas, but we stand firm behind them. We just haven't encouraged this shit, and so we're gonna condemn it. And so, all right, he was motivated by this idea.
My prescription, that's fine. My prescription is to condemn it as such.
Okay.
Condemn rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism. That doesn't mean you can't also condemn it as anti-Semitism. To the degree that it is motivated by rabid anti-Zionism, condemn it as such.
Yeah, but I understand. But like, why do you think that that's going to have any kind of effect, either on how anti-Zionists are perceived, or what, the easy step that one would do if you were a rabid anti-Zionist and you were being held to, quote unquote, held to account, which is just to say, like,
if the culture is different. No, if the culture is, because now if people are much more comfortable condemning you as a rabid anti-Zionist, then you don't have the cover of Zionism. Then anti-Zionism is not a cover anymore.
But a cover could be, I don't support violence generally, and I have these ideas.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. That's okay. Then great. Then that's fine. I'm not talking about a non-rabid Zionist.
Oh, rabid is defined in terms of encouraging violence. Okay, all right.
Encouraging violence, supporting terrorism, being a super extremist, like that's like same with Ben Gvir. Same thing with Ben Gvir.
So I'm
or even like making an example would be like making a permission structure for exclusionary and demonizing behavior, right? Like, for example, when coming back to Mr. Piker, saying that anyone with any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated as a rabid neo-Nazi. And I think that's why, like, this was the problem I was talking about earlier, right? When I was maybe it is better to understand extreme anti-Zionism as like its own form of bigotry, in the same way that we understand Islamophobia to be separate from being against the religion of Islam, right? So I don't know why you're shaking your head, but I'll get to it in a minute.
Like, pause.
But this is why, like, with Rodriguez's manifesto was anti-Zionist. 100% of that manifesto is anti-Zionist.
Don't doubt it.
Really.
I don't doubt it.
That's a good,
yeah.
But the point is, it was
condemned.
Condemned. It was condemned as anti-Semitic, not anti-Zionist.
Yeah, sure. No. I get that. I just, to the extent that there's some other, yes, don't like ignore ideological motivations, and don't call the ideological motivations that do exist something else when they don't. That's fine. I just like go ahead. Sorry, Avi.
So so part of with Hasan Piker, a lot of I actually do see Hasan Piker as a rabid anti-Zionist when he supports terrorism, when he supports terrorist attacks on the galaxy, for example, like the what was that
in the UK
with the Galaxy Leader, yeah,
or that why doesn't it just merge with the underlying issue? Like, would you call yourself a rabid Zionist if given?
I don't support settler attacks. I don't support terrorism.
Okay, but let's say state action that or war crimes or something like that.
I don't support all this. I don't support war. I don't support all the state actions. I don't support war crimes.
But okay, you do support and tolerate some amount of civilian death and in virtue of legitimate.
Yes, but that's okay. Yeah, just like with any other country. Yes. Sure. But that's not. Wait, but that's not rabid. I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, so
and that's not what I'm talking about. Wait, but that's not what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about rabid anti-Zionist either. If rabid anti-Zionist just said, "Hey, I support some amount of civilian death as if Palestine and Israel went to war together, I support some amount of Israeli death." That's not what I'm talking about for rabid anti-Zionism. I'm not talking about that.
Can you support military opposition in the current context against Israel?
Yes.
In Palestine without
being a rabid. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes. For example, if Israel and Palestine went to war and someone supported Palestine and they said something along the lines of, okay, there's some amount of civilian Israeli deaths. In my analysis, I grant that it's not, I don't like it. I'd rather it didn't happen. But given all the factors, I think that it is, it's not a violation of either proportionality, as my understanding of proportionality, or it wouldn't be a violation of what's the other I'm blanking on the
yes, it's
the other.
We've been going for 5 hours, so it's okay. Yeah,
we're going 5 hours.
Yeah. Principle of distinction.
Distinction. Yeah, that's it. Distinction. Yeah, it's so they say, okay, I don't think it's a distinction violation. To whatever degree it's a proportionality violation, I don't like that. I'd rather that didn't happen.
Why can't you say that of Hamas and Hezbollah?
Because they did. Oh, you know why you can't say that of Hamas and Hezbollah?
No. Stop. Just pause. Like, why can't you say that of? I wish Hamas wouldn't target civilians. I wish they wouldn't do October 7th. I wish they would just attack the military targets.
Sure. No, you can. No, you can say. Okay, no, you can say that of Hamas and Hezbollah. Okay. Now it happens to be they violate all of those principles.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. But So if someone, So one important difference is like one thing that the IDF has not done yet that I've seen that Hamas and Hezbollah that Hamas certainly has done is summary executions. Like that's the biggest principle to me. That's one of the biggest principle of indifference violations. Where summary execution, you have them in your. This is not like.
But that's a merits issue. That's the issue of the facts. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. But I'm just saying about the issue of the facts. The person.
No, someone can say that. But I would also expect them to be like if they are like if they were rabid, like if they were like doing the infinite sweep, no matter what they do, they say, "Oh, I just wish they would do better." Like, and they're while they're summary exeking people, like
or while they're leveling Gaza, or while they're leveling Gaza.
Wait. Just this is like a very wishy. The reason that you can't do the same with regards to Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and their current actions is because, or when it comes to why that's rabid, is just because if you think about the irrationality of it, like the Houthis last week blew up a boat in the Red Sea that killed, I think, 4 people, right? 3 Pakistanis, 1 Indonesian. And then 2 more rescue workers from the Yemeni official government died as well in a later strike. They killed 6 people, I think, who were probably all Muslim, actually, from the countries they come from and the majorities. So, by contrast, the Houthis have killed 1 Israeli since October 7th, 1 Israeli civilian. They've killed 6 times more Muslims than Israelis since October 7th in this one single strike. And it's the fact that someone can be so hateful against Israel and so rabidly anti-Zionist, so irrationally anti-Zionist, that they are willing to give a pass to probably the most murderous groups in the region, the Axis, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Hezbollah, by the way, they don't really fight Israelis either. They fight Syrians. They helped Assad murder like 200,000 of them. So this is like, when you get to a point of hating a country so much and a group so much that you are willing to tolerate and just sidestep some of the most brutal behavior in the entire region and some of the racist behavior, because it's their slogan, curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam, then that's where it becomes rabid in a way that, like, even like a support for the IDF or saying like, oh, I wish they wouldn't commit, but it's worth the war. Like, that's different, right?
I'm not convinced of that. Also, like, if you think it's the lesser two evils, like, we've presented this before, if the Ukrainians were committing war crimes, let's say in equal magnitude to the Russians or proportional to the Russians, or that the overall, Ukrainian army, and I know we got a lot of flack for saying Azov before, as though Azov is all, I'm saying assume that they were anti-Semitic across the board. I'm not saying all of Azov is anti-Semitic, to be clear. If you took that view, you could still be consistent and say, I'm still supporting Ukraine in light of their resistance to the, the greater threat of Russia. And I don't think
that's fine. And by the way, just
we have a real world example of this. Wait, we have a real example. Everyone supports the Allies in World War II, right? Allies committed a shit ton of work.
Yes.
That we put everything that's happening in the modern day.
That's my point.
Okay, they had a my point is they had a just cause. Hamas's cause is to destroy a country. That's not a just cause. Hezbollah's is to destroy 2 countries, apparently.
Yeah, but I don't want to convert, and Avi will respond to this, and I know he'll have something to say, but I don't want to convert an issue of the justness of a conflict, convert that into bigotry if both sides are, or a conversation about bigotry if both sides are willing to make the concessions vis-a-vis, whatever caveats are needed for in the context of the discussion.
Let me respond to what you said about the leveling Gaza. So first of all, I actually don't think, and I'm consistent on this, I don't think summary execution is at the same level of buildings getting leveled. I don't believe that. But furthermore, in principle, I don't even disagree with this. Like I in the sense that, yes, someone can say, I support Palestinian resistance. I abhor every single thing they've done. I abhor basically all the October 7th. I abhor the way they conducted summary executions, the way they targeted civilians, the way they kidnapped civilians, the way they paraded a baby's dead corpse in one of the hostage exchanges. All of that stuff, they condemn it. That's fine. I don't even know if I would consider them, if they were really like that, and they were just but man, Israel is just so bad, and the conditions are so bad. What else are we going to do? Even that is not the sort of thing I'm thinking about when I think about rabid anti-Zionist. The sort of thing I'm thinking about was when they look at terrorist attacks and they're like, yeah, that's justified. As they see the Houthis take over the ship and be like, yeah, it's gonna save Palestine.
That I agree with. But if you actually thought that there was a connection between the seizure of that ship, let's say a civilian ship, and let's be honest, Trump right now, he's seizing ships. He's imagine if he were to take a civilian, I don't know, boat, or stop at an Iranian boat, or do whatever it is that we're sort of equating, and it were conducive to the war effort or something like that. I think if Israel's
so then there's a reasonable degree of expectation, because Ben-Gvir could also have a belief that taking over the West Bank and taking over Palestinian homes is conducive to the war effort, or conducive to broader greater goods. Yeah. So then I have a degree of reasonable threshold in terms of whether I'm going to consider this person, because someone could be a rabid anti-Zionist by being an intellectual underhanded sweeper like that. Like they can always get the plausible deniability and be like, oh yeah, with every terrorist action
No,
is
but
justified
Avi,
because
your
of the war.
actual standard, all right. So like when take World War II, World War One, where you had U-boat, interceptions by Germans attacking shipping that went from America to the United Kingdom, let's say. They made a calculation in that context that these are part of the war aims. Now, listen.
No, I'm talking about when it isn't, when it's reasonably, when it's not, and it's reasonable, and it's expected to reasonably not contribute to the
Got
war
it.
aims.
Okay. Yeah. No. And that
there's a separate question of the just.
Yeah.
There's a separate question of the just cause, but minimally, if it is not, I don't think it is reasonable to, with the public knowledge available, to think that boat is conducive to the war aims.
To drop the atom bomb on Hiroshima.
No, that's plausibly conducive to the war aims.
Okay.
But like that I could buy that. But like there's no plausible case to make that that the Houthis taking over the boat that they did and taking those 400 taking those people, sorry, I don't know how many it was, but taking that crew and holding them hostage for 400 days was conducive to the war aim.
Likewise for hostages kidnapped and apprehended on October 7th.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can. So some yes, some yes, some no. I mean, you could take prisoners of war, but I think they were also hostages. But that's a more murky territory because there actually is some leverage you have by having hostages. Now that is a war. That taking hostages is a war crime, and yes. Soldiers can also be hostages, by the way. The status of being a prisoner of war doesn't preclude the status of hostages. It's third-party compulsion that makes someone over and above a prisoner of war that's a hostage.
This sounds like international law, Avi.
Yes, it does. I'm not saying, it
you're
does.
a great skeptic.
I have no problem. No, I have no problem. Wait. Because that's unfair. I have no problem using the definitions as they're standardly defined in IHL. Like I have no problem. Like my criticism, my issues with international law doesn't preclude me from recognizing that certain terms are standardly used a certain way in international because of international law.
But am I wrong in saying that you're following some of the prescriptions of the rules of war?
Oh yeah, nor is it my view that every single prescription of international law should be not followed.
Got it. So there's
he
some
likes the scripture, but not the priest.
But not the war of aggression principles.
Contemporary priest.
So for example,
not the war of aggression. Yeah, go ahead.
Invasion of Venezuela.
Oh no, not the war of aggression principle. There are some cases where war of aggression is probably the right thing to do.
Okay.
But anyway, to the point, like minimally, I may not have a full fleshed out theory of when is there exoneration of rabid anti-Zionism, as long as how much do you have to recognize and condemn the terrorists. There are people. I'm minimally talking about the people who essentially just try to at every step not condemn at all, and to justify and to sweep, and when it's not expected, when it's not reasonably expected, like the example I gave, there's no reasonable case to make by any reasonable person to think that the Houthis kidnapping people for 400 days or whatever
was
on that ship,
to the war
that non-Israeli ship, was conducive to their cause. It was harmful to the cause of anything.
Got it.
So
why can't this all just be?
The broader question is
that should be. Wait, let me just finish. That should be condemned as rabid anti-Zionism.
But why not just condemn as terrorism apologia? Condemned as
or condemn it. Okay, or condemn it as fine. Condemn it if it's not clear that it's I think it should. But condemn it as supporting terrorism.
I'm with that. I'm with.
The fact is that it is motivated by an excessive and unjustifiable or just like a completely irrational hatred of the particular national group, right? Of Israel. Like that's why these groups are given all their
index
passes.
to them not committing a genocide, right?
No.
So
we're talking about rabid anti-Zionism. These people, these
people were doing it way before the war, even before October 7th.
Yeah, we're talking about people who want Israel
get
to
that,
be abolished,
but
right?
On board some of their views regarding the conflict. And now make an explanation. So you said it's an irrational assessment of Israel. It's more than is necessary, and these are kind of like contingent on your outlook of the whole conflict. And I'm just like, I don't know, like what.
So there's a reason. There is a stance.
No, you're not letting me. I don't think you're letting me express just like the weight of it, though. It's like
okay.
We talk about like cutting your nose off to spite your face, or the idea of like like hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's the fact that these groups do more damage to themselves and to the Arab world than they ever will to Israel, and people still support it because apparently all of that other shit is just kind of worth it as long as they throw a few rockets at Israel in their spare time. Like that's kind of the bit where I think like you have to hate a country or a group so much to be willing to give those passes. We know, for example, that people like Hasan and these commentators, they know what Hezbollah did in Syria. They know that Hezbollah helped Assad, and they know that more civilians died there than have died in the Gaza war. They just don't care because Hezbollah gets a pass because they say fuck Israel and they lob rockets at Israel, and occasionally they hit some fucking farms. Like that's why it's like rabid and why it's like to me like a bigoted level of hatred.
See, I don't understand because like is rabid indexed to it being irrational, or is rabid indexed to the kind of violence apologia and violence encouragement that because I don't know.
Yeah. So without having a, I think we could find common ground on this, without having a all the list of necessary and sufficient conditions of what goes into rabid. At minimum, the sort of thing that someone would recognize rabid Zionism from people like Ben-Gvir and not just anti-Arab bigotry, there should be consistent standards there. There should be so if the issue is irrationality, irrational violence, well, they don't have a problem recognizing Ben-Gvir's irrational violence, but if they do have a problem recognizing the same sort of conditions of irrationality for their case, for anti-Zionism, that's a problem. So wherever that bar is for anyone, because that's at minimum it should be consistent. At minimum, if you're able to recognize rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism for a terrorist, for settler violence apologia, for whether it be for settler violence apologia, or whether it be for the irrationality of how it's not really helping their cause, whether it be for any of that, if you're able to do it, just be consistent about it.
Yeah. You might not shy away from this, but
wait, hold on. Before you ask me, do we agree on that at least?
I would apply whatever standard of toxic ideology consistently across ideologies the same way that I would a MAGA, and so I don't have a problem with that. I guess
so that's a yes.
Yes, that is a yes. That is a yes. Yeah, I would apply the same standards. There's no reason to treat Zionism as an ideology in virtue of like you recognizing motivations or recognizing the harm, or I don't know the what's the term for this? Not terrorism, but it's the kind of terrorism. Again, my brain is turned off because we've done this so long. Where it's you're getting people to do terrorism. Someone in the chat, you'll know what it is. I have no problem applying the same standard there. Question for you though, in terms of how you would interpret a statement as rabid anti-Zionist. Someone says, "I want the state of Israel abolished. I want one state with equal rights." Stochastic terrorism, by the way, is the term.
So I'm going to give the same answer that you gave in terms of the definition versus evidence. So definitionally, not necessarily. Is it evidence that does it increase my credence? Sure.
Got it. I feel like that's fine. I feel like we're trying to define a new. I'm sure that's not what's happening.
No, I'm not defining any new concepts here.
Okay.
I'm just taking a type of ideology and saying here is a rabid form of it. It doesn't have to be Zionism. It could be anything. It could be racism. There's types, just like you recognize. There's different varieties of racism. There's really rabid forms of it, right? Wherever you draw the line, I'm just saying wherever our line. I'm not trying to solve where the line is there. Like that's not really the big thing for me. The big thing is wherever that line is. My issue is not that we have a problem recognizing a defined line for rabid anti-Zionism. My issue is when it's clearly above all of our lines. When it's clearly, but whatever that is, where we don't have to solve it. We're to know that it is clear. We're not doing sorority paradox memes. Okay?
No, I certainly am not doing that. No, and I don't want to be heard to be doing that.
So my issue is wherever it is that is in the clear area gets funneled into anti-Semitism, and we should stop. And we should be sensitive to that.
On that I agree. And on the consistency stuff, I guess.
So because the other thing is So whether you think. If for whatever reason Hasan Piker, he doesn't meet the threshold of rabid anti-Zionist, which I think we can talk about that, and you just want to condemn him for terrorism, Okay, fine. Condemn him for his rabid terrorist support or whatever.
Yeah, I have no. So yeah, on the shit about the boats on some of the, I don't recall now as I sit here the specific comments made in the wake of October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just would like, I have no problem calling out the thing specifically or a version of ideology that is like too extreme or whatever. But I want you to apply this to the concept to like rabid anti-Trumpism. So I say things like Trump is a fascist thug. We need to get the barbarians out of the White House. These are things I say, right? I say, these people, I've said before, quoting Sam Harris, Trump is scarcely human, just to describe his psychology. And basically, I just think he's so abnormal. And I'm like, these people need to be punished severely.
So if there was a movement, if there was an anti-Trump, if there was a movement as recognized called Trumpism,
you would call me a rabid anti-Trumper.
No, I wouldn't, because you haven't done this. You haven't justified kidnapping, people off the Trump boat of a Trump cruise.
Because I'm always I'm saying peacefully, patriotically, democratically, no violence. So that's.
Then I would just say that doesn't meet. Well, then I would just say that doesn't meet my threshold.
Okay,
rabid.
Perfect. Okay, all right. Then I think I get it. Yeah. So if someone is giving those caveats, if someone is indicating that they don't agree with these these crazy actions taken, you don't really have an issue except on the substance.
Wait, say that again.
If someone is giving the caveats and strongly hinting that they don't support this kind of thing outside of whatever the box is that we've created, that they don't support those kinds of actions, and that they want everything done through that tolerance window, you don't have an issue, except perhaps with their underlying opinion.
Yeah, perhaps with I have to think about if the justice of the cause matters at all. But all else, I'm not. Again, no, yeah. So exactly, to answer that hypothetical, no, like you would not be a rabid anti-Trumper. You would just be, if you're peacefully, patriotically protesting or whatever and using all that language. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'm talking about the sort of thing Ben Gvir does with Zionism that would people recognize. He's a rabid Zionist. If you were going into Trump supporters' homes and burning down their homes or kicking them out of their homes and stuff, then I might call you a rabid anti-Trumper.
If I was, but here's something I agree with. I think we should nationalize Trump's wealth, all the ill-gotten gains. But because of how I want to do it, is that enough? Does that mean
I don't
threshold?
No. I don't know. Once again, it's the same sort of thing with the Ben Gvir stuff. Okay. It's the same sort of thing that everyone has that it's the same level of threshold that everyone else has no problem recognizing.
I'm an idiot, Avi. I just have to keep banging my head against it to understand it.
The elephant in the room is that the elephant in the room is that America is just a more civilized nation, and there just isn't this broad movement against Trump that has the same level of insanity.
Yeah, but if you were to say,
I've heard it here. More civilized of a nation, you would you would never accept that shit.
There you go.
Listen, I'm a Maronite. I'm racist against everyone. Okay, that's how that goes.
If you were to say, look, if you were to say we need to literally take Trump's family and kick them out on the streets, out of their homes, burn their house down, and some sort of thing like that.
Wait a second. I'm fucking around, guys. No, I hear you. Yeah. Listen, I want everything to be done democratically. I'm not asking for people. I don't want people to be attacked or violently.
Yeah. So I don't have. Okay. So just because there's nothing at issue with what I'm saying in terms of like the prescription to recognize rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism and condemn it as such.
Okay.
Pisco, are you worried that are you just concerned that there are some?
If the okay is an agreement there?
No. I think I'm getting it. I need to marinate with the concept a little bit and to understand it. That's all I'm saying. But like, what I'm concerned with, which I don't think is what you're doing, because Avi, I think that you've been very good faith this whole time, is like defining like an exceptionalism framework, an exceptionalist framework, and that's what I'm like. I know you're not doing that, and I believe you.
Exceptionalist. Yeah. No. You mean like, am I just doing this for Zionism? No.
Correct. Yeah.
No. The rabid forms of ideology. We don't have to use the word rabid if that's saying it. We can call it extremist.
Okay.
Or whatever. Like we all recognize that there are any ideology, there's an extremist version of it.
Yeah.
That and we should. And I'm noticing that. The anti-Zion extremist variety of anti-Zionism, we tend to there's a tendency to not call it out as such because it gets funneled as anti-Semitic instead.
Okay. Okay. All right. I understand. When you put the extremist thing, I think that tracks. Yeah. I need to marinate with it more, but I think I'm understanding what you're saying. You're not arguing right now in favor of Zionism. You're arguing for an equal standard. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just need to understand it. I'm not trying to fight you on it, but okay.
Can I ask Avi some examples and just see if they fit into rabbit?
Do you understand this, LonerBox? Were you following that whole time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm an idiot.
Well, no.
What are your questions, LonerBox?
Some of these questions are quite niche. Okay, so just like so maybe the first one. I want one state with full right of return and equal voting rights from the river to the sea. Is that rabid anti-Zionism or just anti-Zionism?
I want one state with equal voting rights and from the river to the sea. So
yeah,
this is the Pisco. I am going to give the Pisco answer here. So that raises my credence that there's a more extreme version of Zionism.
But the view itself, you wouldn't say necessarily so.
The view itself, definitional. Okay, yeah, by definition, in all possible worlds, no.
Okay.
Not by definition in all possible worlds.
You say the Pisco answer with such derision.
Someone were to say that, but I'm not saying. No, I said that because you were smiling as I was preparing.
I get it. Yeah.
Believing that this is actually an opinion that someone has, believing that Israel has no right to defend itself because it's the belligerent occupier, and Palestinian resistance has the right to resist colonialism by any means necessary.
Even stronger evidence.
Okay.
He's never going to say.
Actually, no. By any means. Wait.
Yeah,
by any means necessary.
That would be presumptive.
Wait. Yeah. By any means necessary.
That would be by definition.
Okay, yes.
He said that. He said that on October 8th. On October 8th, he said.
Okay, well then but then that is by definition.
By definition.
Rabid anti-Zionism.
By definition.
Sorry, because I didn't hear. No, because I didn't hear. Wait. Because I didn't hear the end part of what you said. I didn't hear the by any means necessary. By any means necessary, by definition, yeah, because then anything's
on the table, sort of thing. And so you would say
any sort of, no matter where your threshold is, like
that's such a Ben-Gvir would say, by the way, folks who are listening. Yeah,
for sure. Then
it's also again, this is what Hasan said on October 8th. Yeah, he said that about.
Okay, then by definition, to be clear, then on my view, by definition, if that's true, by
extreme anti-Zionist,
on my notion of rabid anti-Zionist, he is an extreme anti-Zionist. Yes, he's a rabid anti-Zionist.
Naughty boy, Hasan. Okay, so how about the next one? Supporting Palestinian resistance groups attacking settler outposts.
More evidence,
but
no, not by definition. Okay. I actually do support that, by the way. Which is supporting the first Intifada.
Can we pause real quick because we've been biting some bullets, and so LonerBox, it's your turn.
Are you including children in the settlers and stuff like that?
No, I don't target children. Obviously, no.
Okay, all right, but you're in favor of attacks on settlers, civilians.
So if we're going to be really, really tight with it, I generally support the ANC style attacks on settler infrastructure, unless any of the settlers are actually militants, because some of them are. But yes, attacks on the infrastructure in the same way that settlers do to Palestinians, right? Like blocking the road, cutting their.
You don't support when they see a civilian car and they start throwing rocks at it at the windshield and stuff and causing them to crash. Okay.
No. Often that doesn't even help Palestinians do that either, to be honest.
Well, that's why I don't support it. That's one of the reasons I don't support it, is because I don't think it'll lead to good outcomes.
Yeah. Because by international law, a lot of people don't like this, but settlers are. Unless they are.
I think, Avi, you would say that too. That perhaps under international law, maybe there's a justification for some of the violence. But I guess I don't know what you would say about that. But that you don't think it's a good idea.
I'm switching my Bluetooth once. Give me 1 second.
Are we getting into another Rob Noor situation?
Yeah. No. It's okay. No, it's not a problem. All right, there we go. Let's see. Let me see if you can. All right, talk.
Testing 1 2 3.
Okay, it works. Okay. What was your question?
Whether or not you would think that attacks on settler civilians would be in accordance with international law principles.
In accordance with international law, I don't So I think I suspect the majority of them are not.
They're
What
not
about
civilians, or they are?
as they're
They are
as
civilians.
they're
No, the majority of them are civilians.
Yeah,
attacked. Yeah, the majority of the attacks are against civilians.
Yeah.
and as they're would that answer change as they're displacing individual homes? Maybe that would be self-defense principles or analyzed differently.
As they're on international law, like you're asking me, according to international law, is
on
that
your view,
that, no, I think on international, if international law, my answer is if international law was consistently applied by the international law people, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
If they applied the same strict standard of international law that they applied to Israel to Palestinians, then hell no.
On defending yourself against settlers who are taking your home.
By taking their merely doing that, merely self-defense, no. I'm not
but attacking them
a
week after they've done that, you would say.
Yeah, like attacking it, right? Like a week after to launch an attack on their home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So on
but I think, but as far as the IHL community goes, I think even Amnesty would say they actually say the settlers are civilians unless they do otherwise.
Yeah, it really. So okay, I will grant that there are some groups that do that. But man, are there some IHL people who will really turn the other cheek on that, and they will not, or engage in all sorts of apology of how maybe it doesn't apply here. Like there's been the international people, like even Yahya Sinwar, like there were people who were saying there were international people who were saying that he may have not been a valid target when he was killed.
Yeah, no, I saw that. It was like Kenneth Roth and those fucking dipshits.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Avi,
what if you
go ahead, Loner, sorry.
What if you support the first Intifada but not the second?
So I actually looked at the so that question in of itself, like, okay, then you support the first Intifada, not the second. I understand the first Intifada was meaningfully less violent than the second. I don't think it was nonviolent. And so
no, it wasn't nonviolent. Like it was violent, but it was much more.
Sorry, you're cutting.
You cut out.
But also, I'm not saying. Am I still cutting out?
Now you're good.
Okay, I'm not saying supporting every single act of it. I'm just saying as like a broad goal because it seemed to be that the first.
I would just say that we probably have different values and different goals. I'm not going to say you're a rabid. I'm not going to say like you're a rabid terrorist supporter or a rabid anti-Zionist.
Okay, even though within that particular event, there were obviously Hamas, and that was
this is not what I'm talking. Yeah, this is not Hasan Piker level. Sorry, no.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, why are you? This is from in the chat. Why are you not a rabid Zionist? In virtue of what?
I don't support. Because all of the things all of the things I recognize rabid anti-Zionists for, I don't support Zionists doing. Like all of those things that would make it. Summary executions of civilians, I don't support them doing. Okay, gross violations of proportionality, just bombing like without any precaution at all, I don't support them doing. Dehumanizing language.
I think they have done that.
Yeah, I think they have done that, especially in the beginning of the war. There's examples of them doing that. Gross dehumanization of Palestinians as Palestinians, I don't support them doing. Incitement to violence, I don't support them doing. I don't support them dragging civilians out of their homes. I don't support them stealing their flocks. I don't support them. Like, how many examples do you want me to give? Like,
no, I think that's helpful for the viewer to see. Avi, I thought this is a useful concept as I'm thinking about it more and more. I just want to let it settle with me. Is that chill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. And listen, if something ever brews up from it, like we can have another conversation about it.
Hell yeah, bro.
About the virtues of recognizing extremist views of a given ideology. Sorry.
Bro.
That was a little bad faith on me. Sorry. Okay. But I was joking. Yeah.
I think we have run to ground.
Yeah.
Everything. What do you guys think?
I think you're on board with Team Hasan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic.
He can change. We can change him, Avi.
Okay, maybe you can.
He needs to disavow.
Definitely can.
Good luck.
Listen, I don't understand like waiting for evidence. And listen, the people who have presented shit have done a dog shit job. At least as you've seen them, Avi. Have you been impressed with the people who have called in and have made the case?
Listen. What do you mean? I'm just hearing about it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like,
be honest. They're doing dog shit job.
No,
and so I'm not watching all this
I know,
shit.
You know, I know that. Yeah, I know. I know they haven't done a good. Look. Yes, I know that. Yeah, people have done it, but also I do want to say one thing though. One thing I do want to say about this, and I'm not saying this is your fault, Pisco.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, it did not take me a week of research to find the strong examples and understand why the other counter hypotheses were not plausible. Like, they were definitely out there. It wasn't. And so one thing to wonder about is why do you think this is the first time such a clear case is being presented? If you think this is the first time such a clear, why is it me?
I'm not sure.
That's.
Yeah, well, because number one,
a lot of
Hasan viewer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not a Hasan viewer,
okay.
And I don't I don't go out of my way to do these like investigations. It actually, part of it. I'm just going to be honest with my inclination to do these kinds of like expose and go through the evidence. I find it a little cringe, and that's notwithstanding the fact that I think it's useful and the fact that I did it right. But there is just something about this like. I react to shit I see on the news. There are certain areas of interest I have, and I don't really have this interest to like go through and like go over biases and racist shit. To me, that's not my area of interest, and so, notwithstanding it, right? But if people want to challenge me on it and ask me on it, I'm open to it. That's why I always say. But like, I'm not going out of my way to catalog all the Hasan Piker shit.
Yeah, I'm not talking about with respect to your virtues.
Okay.
I'm talking about respect to like, because in my view, this is a broader failure. Like, this is a broader failure. Like, this is something that, like, I shouldn't have. I think, again, it's not I'm not saying it's Pisco's fault. I'm saying this has not been hard to find, and it has been swept. Like, there's been a sweep campaign for it.
Say Ezra. Ezra is sweeping.
Ezra is sweeping.
No, but Ezra says he doesn't believe that Hasan has like hatred. That's what he said in his article there.
Yeah.
And
okay, well, I have to read them more, but I do think the Mehdi Hasan thing was sweeping.
I agree
because I know Mehdi Hasan can push back when he wants to.
Yeah.
I know Mehdi Hasan does look he actually looks into things. He actually looks into what he saw. He looked into that example, and he did not push back one bit. As Hasan Piker lied, completely misconstrued what he was saying, and gave the tactical walk back. Like, that to me is a broader failure.
But can you also say, like, okay, you say that speaks ill of some of the sweepers. What does it say about the presenters?
Oh no, the presenter. Yeah. So, well, I'm a presenter, and I think I did a really good job.
No, not you, fucking sweeper. Okay, you sweeper, fuck.
No. So no, I agree. I think I agree. I think the presenters did a fairly poor job, and they should have done a better job. But yeah, what do you want me to say?
We started with Andrew Wilson, and we're kind of ending on that note too.
There's not really anything to gain from it.
Wait, what are we ending on that? What are we ending on
the left from calling out antisemitism?
Wait, what? No, how am I? Wait, am I ending on an Andrew Wilson?
No. That just because there's some person who gets to the right result doesn't mean they're the best at presenting it, or the best at arguing it.
Sure. Yeah. I do. No, yeah. So So I agree. People have not presented the best case. People.
And I'm patting myself on
the
back too. We all share largely notions of anti-Semitism. My evidentiary burdens are not unreasonable, or my thresholds are not, in your mind, unreasonable. Are they, Avi?
I don't think so. You've convinced. I mean, this is evident. This is definitely evidence that they're not unreasonable. You were able to very clearly recognize that Hasan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic.
Yeah. So, like, what would you say to people who lied, smeared, who had bullshit conclusions because, okay, I was a little logic bro-y and a little bit like particular on my language on definitions. What do you have to say about that shit?
Well, I take this as evidence that they are mistaken about you.
Sick. LonerBox, how you doing? We got to get you back on Live and Learn one of these days, bro.
Yeah, you do. Shit.
Yeah, bro.
Wait, Javi, I was going to ask you also, I can say the same thing as well. I think people calling you anti-Semitic are dumb and useless. Like, it's whatever. But Javi, I'm guessing you probably also think that, like, there's a thing in the liberal, like, left-leaning media, right? It just feels like some people...
You're cutting in and out just a little bit. If you could just talk into the mic.
Okay. I'm very close to my mic, but shit.
Might
It
be
seems
an
like some people are just either very like not willing to look into that mirror or look into, because it does involve criticizing your own side and people you might have audience overlap with or whatever else. But it's also just like, I think some people are just okay with it. Like, I don't know. Do you think Mehdi Hasan is anti-Semitic?
Well, this performance was evidence of him sweeping anti-Semitism, but not to the degree that Hasan Piker is. I don't think, because I wouldn't, not enough to call him an anti-Semite. Or not enough to call him meaningfully not enough to call him anti-Semitic. But I think that what he did there
was wrong to do, and some evidence.
It was wrong to do, and it was sweeping, and it was engaging in sweeping of anti-Semitic actions.
He raises a couple of eyebrows.
Yeah, it does raise my eyebrows.
He also keeps fucking lying about the IHRA definition. I don't know why he does this.
Why did he lie about
that? It says you can't. He keeps saying that you can't
criticize Israel on the IHRA definition.
But they literally say you can. Yeah, it's like they literally say you.
No, there's other issues that are incompatible with Pisco's notion, but they did say you can't say that the Israeli state is inherently racist, but that's not the same thing as saying you can't have any criticism of Israel.
Agreed with that. That's false. Given what I read there, I don't think that's true. Mehdi should stop saying it. Guys, what a great conversation. Anything you want to plug, Avi or LonerBox, to my audience before we...
Is it okay if I cross-upload?
Absolutely okay. No problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right, folks.
All right.
Good shit. Talk again soon.
Good stuff.
Peace out.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Yo, what up? What up, bros? It's just us now. Han Solo can't save you. Why can't you say Israel's inherently racist? No, that's just according to the IHRA definition guidelines. Which I think, guys, I don't like that definition. I think that's shitty. So I assume someone now comes in and presents 6 hours evidence for the person being one-sidedly character smeared. I don't like, I think that's not something I'm interested in, but appreciate you. Yeah, I think that I have a discussion scheduled for some other person. I don't know who this person is. She messaged me. She said, what did she say? She said she wanted to talk to me about this. So maybe that'll be the last discussion, because this anti-Semitism topic has been done to death. For sure. So you're going to entertain the other side of the argument in the spirit of fairness? Yeah. I mean, if you guys think that he's not meaningfully... So you guys know my view. It's not that like there's this conscious hatred that I think Hasan has, right? It's the same way in which I would treat a statement that like Trump made or that Ben Shapiro made, right? Even if the statements are like worse for other reasons. I just think that like, yeah, that's... You're specifically calling inbred this group of people who are not of the type, right? And in a way in which I think that's the best inference. And I am not convinced by the counter arguments. Once I saw where he was going with that, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I see what you're saying. And I think that you should be intellectually honest to recognize that. I wasn't convinced by the second part about no. The second part about anti-Zionism, I think all that's being said, I think it's a little bit more modest than what it sounded to me very like sus at first. I'm gonna be honest, but I don't think it's that sus. Just be clear about that. Thank you so much for the memberships, guys. Lovely chat. Oh, thank you. got worked over by Zionists. Yeah, we can do discussions with anti-Zionists too. No problem. You shouldn't let Avi imply Haredim are particularly non-racist because they're not. No, it's not about them being racist or non-racists. It's about them being non-Zionists. 79% support expelling Arab Israelis. 69% say they should have more rights. Yeah, but that's just compatible with what we're saying. That it's not on the basis of Zionism, right? And I don't really... Are you suggesting that that's what he meant by that? That it was because of those beliefs that he said that? Yeah. I'm not convinced by that. Sorry. I wanted to propose you a way anti-Zionism can be anti-Semitic. Jesus, we've already run that to ground. So the answer is like no. I'm not going to talk to you for another 3 weeks about this. We've done this topic enough, and I want to move on. I'll do that one last conversation. If some anti-Zionist or Hasan defender wants to come on and give the alternative, I'm also open to that in the interest of fairness, for sure. But in 3 weeks, you can come back at me with this. But the last one we'll do, and then I want to move on, and that's legitimate for me to do. It's legitimate for me to want to move on. Okay, is that cool with you guys? But after that last one that I have, we'll do a 3-week hiatus on the conversation. Then you can, if you still really want to talk about it, we can. 3 weeks. Is that cool? I think we've done it to death. Avi's prescriptions regarding extremist anti-Zionism, I think, can work with, because I think I already do push back on extremism broadly. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just think that just means don't support like really extreme bad actions in light of your views. Yeah, sure. But to be clear, DRT0, if you want to talk about something else, that's fine. I'm not like saying that you have a 3-week hiatus. I'm saying after my last conversation with this Israeli, or I don't know if she's Israeli. I think she might be. Don't quote me on that. But also, I will, if there's someone who wants to make the case about why they disagree with Avi on that analysis, and to be clear, I don't. I think that's, and I think that many recognize it as such, and that's why he raised it, right? So, and I don't want to be heard to onboard the view that this is the same category as like a Nick Fuentes type or one of these other, like it's just not. And I would also treat Elon Musk very differently, and I hope you guys recognize that. I just, given that evidence, I'm swayed by it. I think it's good evidence. But yeah, also if there's someone who wants to explain why they're not convinced by Avi's case, I will do that, and I'll hear you out the same way that I heard Avi out. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I'm not like intellectually dishonest. I'm not trying to, hide the ball. I just tell you, I react in real, you can see almost my thought process on some of this shit. And I just talk out loud, extemporaneously. But if you want to, and by the way, someone go search all of the inbred references from LonerBox, because we got to make sure that we're not platforming an anti-Semite on, or whatever, an anti-Palestinian on Live and Learn. You compared it to Ben Shapiro with no. What I said was on the Ben Shapiro, right? Like, there's an argument with like, well, it was one comment. It was one comment. That you wouldn't say that for like one comment from like a right winger that is sufficient, that meets a threshold, right? Caught. Everyone go look up inbred references. And here's the thing, right? You can just cure yourself of it. Or do your best to cure yourself of it and be like, well, yeah, this was the wrong thing to do, and I'm sorry I said it, and I should own up to it, right? I think what most Pisco critics could understand is that Pisco doesn't know. I don't know the shit, and the Avi, as he said, right, like the presenters did not do good cases. They just didn't. And also, by the way, this changes literally zero of my other prescriptions and my other perspectives on DSA shit. So just be aware of that as well. But yeah, I'm open to hearing people out on shit. But when you start saying like, the way to convince me is like through what Avi does. The way to not to convince me is saying that I'm bad faith and I'm a paid whatever, all that shit. No, I told you this is done, not happening. and don't bring it up. I'm a reasonable person. I'm open to evidence. Always have been. No, it doesn't change. Why would it? It changes how I view him, but in terms of engaging with his content, why would it? Avi leaves out a lot of context for most of, I think that it was a pretty, he was prepared for all of the auxiliary hypotheses that y'all were bringing up. So I think that the counter arguments were given their fair due, and I think it speaks for itself. You know, like you can say that there was something that went unanswered, but I don't think it was pretty comprehensive. The prescription has changed nothing. I mean, like, what about my approaches do you find inconsistent? Avi is really solid in the strict logical argument. I think it's hard for most people to argue like him, though I understand and appreciate the elegance. Okay, but like then don't bother, okay? Especially when we're dealing with people's motivations. You need to have a case.